Now I knew how to get Mullah. One true shot from the flak tower to his command tower. But the Russians had closed in, cutting me off from my designated vantage point. I'd have to cross the front line, past the attacking Reds, and infiltrate one of the most heavily defended fortresses in Berlin. This is what I trained for. Just me, my rifle, and a target.
Как ты думаешь, они разрешат оставить себе вещи, которые мы найдем?
Нет, их реквизирует командование.
Черт, но ты же не скажешь им, если я что-нибудь незаметно положил.
Нет, но если ты собираешься это сделать, приготовься к неприятностям. Они все равно узнают. Я тебя, сука, прикончу. Огонь на подавление! Подавите приятеля! Я тебя, сука, прикончу. Убейте всех! Разберитесь с ними! Прикройте меня! Огонь на подавление! Разберитесь с ними! Я тебя, сука, прикончу! Прикройте меня! Убрать охрану! Огонь на подавление! Прикройте меня! Давайте взрывчатку! Я тебя, сука, прикончу! Убейте всех! Разберитесь с ними! Прикройте меня! Прикройте меня! Прикройте меня! Убейте всех! Стреляйте! Огонь на подавление! Не упустите! Я тебя убью! Уничтожить противника! Убейте стрелка!
Подавить!
Разберитесь с ними! Взрывчатку!
Я тебя убью!
Где-то здесь! Убью! Найдите его!
Поезд убит!
Не упустите! Я тебя, сука, прикончу! Огонь на подавление!
Война!
Прикройте меня!
Подавить неприятеля!
Разберитесь с ними! Огонь на подавление! Убейте всех! Прикройте меня! Огонь на подавление!
Прикройте меня!
Я тебя убью!
Огонь! Подавление!
Я тебя, сука, прикончу! Убейте всех! Разберитесь с ними! Огонь на подавление! Убейте стрелка! Убейте всех! Прикройте меня! Я тебя, сука, прикончу! Огонь на подавление! Убейте всех! Прикройте меня! Убейте всех!
Тебя прикончу!
Убрать охрану! Убейте стрелка!
Убейте
Прикройте
всех!
меня! Я тебя убью!
Меня! Я тебя
Разберитесь с ними!
прикончу!
Убейте всех! Я тебя, сука, прикрою!
Прикройте меня! Я тебя
Огонь на подавление!
прикончу!
Разберитесь с ними!
Всех!
Я тебя, сука, прикрою! Прикройте меня! Разберитесь с ними! Я заряжаюсь!
Убейте стрелка!
Убейте! Прикройте меня! Убрать охрану! Я тебя, сука, прикрою! Уничтожить противника! Убейте всех! Разберитесь с ними!
Now I knew how to get Mullah. One true shot from the flak tower to his command tower. But the Russians had closed in, cutting me off from my designated vantage point. I'd have to cross the front line, past the attacking Reds, and infiltrate one of the most heavily defended fortresses in Berlin. This is what I trained for. Just me, my rifle, and a target.
Он где-то здесь. Не смотрите в оба. Продолжайте искать.
Он где-то здесь!
Найдите его. Смотрите в
Берите
оба.
снайпера! Ты точно где-то здесь!
Ищите лучше.
Где-то здесь!
Ищите лучше.
Я найду тебя, сука!
Продолжайте искать. Смотрите в оба.
Ищите лучше!
Он где-то здесь. Найдите его.
Ну-ка, покажись, снайпер!
After that, it'll reboot. And when it reboots, if I don't unplug the flash drive, oh, I also want to unplug the network. I almost forgot. We'll keep that network cable unplugged because we don't want it downloading updates during the install. It might take a while. Actually, in our case, it shouldn't. That's an updated installer. But nonetheless, it's a good practice, and you should always do it. Make it a habit. Just do it the same way every time, rather than thinking, oh, maybe I don't need to do it this time. Always do it this way, and you'll never have to worry about whether or not you should. Whether or not it was absolutely required is irrelevant. If you always remove it, it's never required. All right, let me say hello to everybody. Scroll up to the chat here. Paul Virtue says hello. Hey, Paul, thank you for the Amazon gift card. Jonathan Fells says hello, as does Michael Lavelle and Sean Skinner. Of course, our channel administrator, Mara, hanging out with everybody today. And Mark Gaines says hello. Gary Tatum says hello. And John Kay says hello. Our friend Luke Greeny, along with David Graham, say hello in our chat room. 3D Everything and Jim Kenny. Isaiah says hello. Eddie Casanova joining us here, along with Andy W6AD. He says, happy mini palooza, Mara and Carrie. Back at you, my friend. He's got an exciting day today. Let's see. Xander Vanderhoven says hello, along with Dustin Fuller and W.E. Holmes, Ken Roberts, and Charles Eslick. Welcome in, guys, along with Dazzle555, Chris Johnson. Sandarumbalo says hello. John Rogers says hello. Eugene Hildago joining us. Big Game James says hello. Frankie B says hello. Thank you again, Frankie. What an extremely generous contribution he volunteered to us today, and we'll put that to use. It's all of these Amazon gift cards we use to make purchases such as this. We bought this. This will be one I can't wait to sell. There's a couple of mini PCs I am so disappointed with that I absolutely won't. Mini PCs I am so disappointed with that I absolutely won't consider holding on to them. The sooner I can sell them, take whatever loss I have on, you know. If it sells new for $300, obviously I can't sell it for the same price. Why would anybody buy it used, even though it's lightly used, unless it's discounted? And then I got to pay for the shipping and the eBay fees on top of that to get rid of it. So it'll be a loss, but with whatever money we get in return, we'll put that back to Amazon for the next mini PC, and hopefully we'll find some keepers. We've had really good luck. You know, out of the last 8, 6 have been really good. 5 have been good. And 2, I already know I don't like. This is one of them. And one of them, well, I haven't made up my mind yet. Okay, so look here on the screen. See what happened is the machine rebooted and it started to the flash drive. And that's why we're seeing the Windows setup screen instead of the Windows installer continuing. So this means the BIOS has been configured at the factory, because I didn't do this, to boot from the flash drive. And that's why you should not make that change in the BIOS. A boot override is all you want. You just want it to happen once, not every single time, or you're going to find yourself in this loop until you go into the BIOS and make the change. So let's try that now. Let's just confirm what I'm saying is true. I'll hit Control-Alt-Delete. It's not going to work. So I'll pull the power. Let's plug it back in. I want to leave the flash drive in so I can see where it is in the boot options. Sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you won't if it's not plugged in. So if we leave it plugged in, I know for sure it's going to show up in the BIOS. So let's go over to our boot settings and see what boot option 1 is. That's the problem. I didn't set that. That's how it shipped from the factory. Anymore. That's where it gets tricky. But let's just verify. Some machines it will show USB device first, and it just won't be specific, right? When we have a specific USB plugged in, it'll tell us. But here it says boot option 1. It does say USB device. And that's how it was shipped to us from GMK Tech. This, to me, is some bad quality control. Who's ever responsible for this, you know, somebody needs to be retrained, or, you know, I don't know, maybe they're not all this way. Maybe it was just this one. There should be consistency. So let's go ahead and change this. And we want NVMe first. Boot option 2, all of these other ones, as far as I'm concerned, could be disabled. Like, I never want to boot to a network, never ever. But you see, there's no disabled. So you have to put it in an order, and just, as long as it always boots here, it'll never try to boot here. And if it can boot here, it won't try and boot here. So it works its way down in this order until there's nothing left. Let's go ahead and save and exit. Now when I reboot, two things are going to happen. One, I've got the flash drive removed. We're done with it anyway. Two, it's going to boot from the C drive now so it can complete the Windows 11 install, which it cannot do if it keeps booting to the flash drive. It'll just try and keep reinstalling over and over again. So now it's doing what it's supposed to do. And back over to our chat room. So let's see, we're saying hello to Big Game James and Frankie B. Marsman50 says hello. Randy joins us along with Tony Aindow, joining us from Nottingham in the UK. Cheers, Tony. Mark Baggett says hello, as does John Lewis and Frank Jimmy. Welcome in, Frank. Gawoon Peter. There's Peter joining us from the Netherlands. Did I skip anybody? I hope I didn't. If you're watching this live, please pop into the chat room and say hello. You're missing out if you don't. We'd love to have you as a guest. Assuming you're polite, come on in and say hello. Picard says, greetings from Michigan. Ah, man, I wish I was in Michigan today. Our temperatures are over 100 degrees already, so that means it started and it'll continue till October. Oh boy, I'll tell you what. It's brutal out there with those temperatures like that, and it's going to get a little bit hotter. 110 will soon be around the corner, and it gets, it's pretty, what's the word I like to use? Oppressive. The heat is so, you know, there's no cloud cover, there's very little trees. If you can find some shade, it makes a big difference, but having the full sun in the sky just bearing down on you without anything, it is really, really, really hot. And unlike Las Vegas, Phoenix is not a very windy city, so Vegas is. The joke is that Phoenix is like an oven, and Vegas is like a hairdryer. And I have to say, I prefer the hairdryer, because at least having a little hot wind is still better than no wind at all. So I just try and stay indoors for the next couple months, and if I have to go out, I wait till after sundown, which doesn't happen until around, I think sunset is around 7:30 right now in the evening. And of course in Michigan, geez, in the summers, I remember it getting to be like 9 o'clock at night and the sun was still up. Am I remembering that right? All right, so here the Windows 11 install is finished, so we go through our out-of-box experience. I click that I don't have internet until I get to the desktop. So I'll put a username in. I'll just put user as my username, leave the password blank, and I'll leave location settings on because I want my date and time to always be maintained for me, including daylight saving time and things like that, and lost minutes and seconds that occur naturally over time. And then I'll hit accept, and that should be it. It'll then configure the computer for the particular settings and regions that I've selected. And then we'll get to the desktop and we can plug it back into the internet and download some updates. And we'll see which drivers are missing. Remember the difficulty I had in finding a couple of drivers? They should all be available now, direct from the manufacturer, making that process so much more efficient. Picard said, yeah, in Michigan, it's about 9 p.m. before it gets dark in the summer. Yeah. Bajan guy said, I had that boot option problem a few weeks ago with my granddaughter's mini PC. But you fixed it, right? You knew what was wrong. You knew how to address it. Didn't break anything or make anything worse. You're in and out. It's a 6-10 second fix. That's why I show it. Stephen Detroit says hello. Welcome in, Stephen. Dazzle555 said 77 degrees Fahrenheit here in the UK. He's indoors, though. Wait, 77 indoors or 77 outdoors? You can make any indoors 77. Okay, so now that we've rebooted, let me grab my Ethernet cable and we'll check a few things here, just like we did before. And this should be a lot smoother than it was before. Should be. Let's test it and see. So first things first, let's get rid of camera 1 for a second. Let's get rid of me. There we go. And let's take a look at our device manager. So first I'll right click on the start menu. We're going to go to the device manager. Now you will notice it did not ask us what version of Windows. It never asked us for a product key, because that's all in the BIOS and that'll be handled automatically by Windows Update. Once we go to Windows Update, a product key will be assigned. But you notice we're missing our Ethernet driver right here. And you'll see, look at all these devices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 unknown devices on a 4-year-old computer. Typically, I would expect to see this on a brand new hardware release. So say you've got the latest and greatest processor or chipset or motherboard from Intel or AMD, right, to meet whatever the latest CPU is. And you say, well, that's because it's so new, they don't have the drivers yet. But this is over 4 years old, 5 years old, and look at all the drivers that are still missing. So that tells me the people at GMK Tech, the people responsible, ended up picking hardware that just never became adopted by Windows Update. If it hasn't happened by now, it ain't gonna happen. Another reason to avoid this is this. We've seen some other GMK Tech minis where all the drivers we needed were provided by Windows Update, every single one of them. This is the opposite of that, which again, I would expect on a bleeding edge, just released computer where the drivers just haven't been distributed and integrated into Windows Update. It takes time, but after 4 or 5 years, this is pretty bad. Pretty severe, I guess is the word I want to use. I understand if there's 1 or 2 things, but we've got 13 unknown devices on a 4 or 5 year old hardware. So how do you get your Ethernet drivers if you don't have Ethernet to get online? Well, you know I use those Ethernet USB adapters, right? The other thing you could do is you could go online with another computer, visit GMK Tech's website. So let's try that. Well, I can't go to their website. You'd have to go to their website on another computer, download the drivers, and if the drivers say, sorry, the leech limit's been, hit today, it's already, reached its maximum allowable leech limit, come back tomorrow, you can't finish your job. That's kind of messed up, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the flash drive that I've got here and I'm going to plug it in, just like so. And this is an old flash drive from Corsair, an old Corsair Voyager. And these flash drives, they just run forever, don't they? And let's grab the drivers folder that I downloaded and extracted, and let's just move it to our downloads folder. Because if I was able to download it, that's where I would put it. That's where it would go. So we'll just pretend we did that. And this is the advantage of going and downloading your drivers before you need them. This is exactly why you do it. And whether you put it on a flash drive or you put it on some external media, you definitely don't want to keep this on your main drive, because that's the drive you're going to need to put them on, right? Or if anything happens to it and you have to replace the main drive, well, you've just lost everything on it, potentially. So it's a great idea to protect yourself by simply having a copy and then hoping you never need that copy. We call copies backups. Now here, when we look in the drivers folder, we can see there's this option where it says auto install drivers. And if I sort this by name, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they want you to install them in this order. I do like that we have auto install drivers. Let's right click and run as administrator. And let's see it go through all of this. And you'll notice we have no graphical user interface. There is no setup and next and a license agreement. This is how technicians and corporations will often install software and items. This is more of the technical side, whereas when you hit next and agree to, that's the consumer side. And I appreciate that they have this installer that will run through all 10 of those updates, so we don't have to click on each one individually, look for a setup. Sometimes there's a setup, sometimes there isn't, and you install one way and install something else another way. That just sucks. The lack of consistency. I'm all about consistency. Do it one way all the time. Whether it's AMD or Intel, doesn't matter. These are just general good practices and good habits for end users to find themselves in if you want to maintain your own computer. If you have somebody else doing that for you, that's their problem. It's not yours. But I'm assuming you're here to be more self-reliant and have more control over your computer. And these are some of the tools that you may need. It's like having a spare key. You lock yourself out of the house, how are you going to get in? A spare key is $2 or $3. A locksmith is $150 or more. So it's pretty inexpensive to pay for a flash drive if you don't already have one. Download the drivers for free and put that in a drawer somewhere. Hope you never need it. Because when you need it, it's too late if you don't already have it, in this case. And even if you do have a second computer you can download the files onto, you better hope the leech limit wasn't met, or you'll have to wait till the next day. Who wants that? You probably had plans. Well, you're going to have to change your plans, and you don't have much choice unless you know how to figure out all those drivers on your own, and you have the USB to Ethernet tool that I have, the network interface card. That's just a USB cable. You said, oh, I'm not going to buy one of those. I would never use it. You're just stuck. There's nothing you're going to be able to do but wait. So if you take these steps now before you need them, you'll never find yourself in that position, ever, never, ever. Otherwise, you can roll the dice, and maybe you will, maybe you won't find yourself in that position. So we're watching this live, unrehearsed and unscripted as it goes through these installs. And hopefully when it's done, we have no more problems in the device manager. I'll still want to download the Intel chipset driver from Intel just to make sure I'm getting the latest one. Given that the software on this machine was over 2 years old, I imagine these drivers are over 2 years old. And for the most part, I don't much care if the sound driver or even the network card drivers are 2 years old. Honestly, I don't care. The things that make the most difference in your performance are going to be your graphics card driver and your chipset driver. Now, there are occasions where a driver on a network interface card can make a difference. That does happen, but most times people don't notice one way or the other. But when it comes to chipset and GPU drivers, boy, that can make a night and day difference on a computer, just going from an old driver to a new one. So we stick with the manufacturer's drivers first. We don't want to put new drivers on first, because if we did that, this would overwrite the new drivers with old ones, potentially. So here we put the manufacturer's drivers on, then we'll go to Intel for the chipset driver or AMD for the chipset driver after. And it'll put the latest driver on over the older one. If they're the same version, overwriting it won't hurt anything. But in order for us to do any of that, we need to get online. And if you notice in the bottom right corner, we still have this globe, even though I'm plugged into the network. That tells me the network card driver so far has not yet been installed. And this is taking quite a while, but I'll bet you it's about 75 times faster than me doing it by hand, trying to figure out what everything was. It's not a matter of just having the driver, it's knowing which one you need to begin with. That's where things get tricky. Some things are easier than others. There it goes. Now we got the network card driver. You notice that little globe now changed to a little monitor. So we're online right now. And while we're online, Windows Update will automatically start running in the background without your knowledge or permission. It just does it whether you like it or not. And what it's doing right now in the background is it's running any driver updates, assigning the product activation code and activating Windows all behind the scenes, and it doesn't even tell you it did it, just so you know. So here it says all the drivers are installed successfully. That's bad English. Press any key to continue. I guess I have to click on the window first, then press any key. There we go. We'll close this window out and let's see if the device manager looks happy. Perfect. Wasn't that a lot easier? Perfect. Now let's go to Windows Update and see what it's doing, and also look for any drivers that are going to come from Windows Update. So check for updates, and while we're waiting for that, I like to make a few settings changes for my personal preferences for myself and my clients. I also want to check the power settings because I don't want this machine to go to sleep on us while we're live. So here's a bunch of downloads it needs, including some drivers, this Intel software component. These are updated drivers. And then under advanced, we'll see if there's any optional ones. Yep, there's 2 optional. Let's grab those. Do it all at once. And then while those are downloading, let's check our power settings. So I'll have the screen go to sleep after a couple hours here. And then never put the computer to sleep unless it has batteries. You're trying to save the battery life. And then choose what the power buttons do. I want it to shut down if I hit the power button. Not just power off. I want it to actually do a proper Windows shutdown and close all the windows first. And then there is no sleep button on computers anymore. So this is ignored, but I'm just going to click do nothing. Save those changes. We'll close this out and we'll just let that finish. As I mentioned, these are my installer. It's been updated. So these are just updates that have come out since the second Tuesday of May. And then on the second Tuesday of this month, within 2 or 3 days, Microsoft will release a new version of the media creation tool. And I will download a slipstream version of June updates within my media installer. Microsoft only started doing this year. So I'm grateful for that because that means less time spent downloading these updates. If you do as many installs as I do, it's a huge time saver. So I guess I can pull my flash drive out of here. We're done with it now. We copied off the data we needed. And again, I would put this away somewhere, label it, or if you have a backup drive, just make a folder called drivers for the GMK Tech M2 Pro S, so you know what they're for. And then you'll never find yourself in a position where you're stuck or you need specialty tools like a USB to network adapter. Because if you don't have it and you need it, you can order one from Amazon for like $10 or $15. And if you're lucky, you'll get it tomorrow. On the other hand, by tomorrow, the leech limit will have reset and you could just probably download the drivers. So it's a little too late at that point. You definitely want these before you need them for all those reasons. I also want to make some changes to my resolution. I noticed that we're at 4K here, so I want to go to display settings and change this to 1080. And then I'm curious if we've activated. One way I can tell is if I can change the wallpaper. I just go to personalize, because you can't personalize the computer unless it's activated. Clearly it's activated because it let us change the wallpaper. We can verify by just going down here and typing the word activation, hit enter, and you can see the product key was reassigned and the product was reactivated, all behind the scenes without telling us anything was going on. It's something that just works auto-magically, and if you don't look to see, well, if it's not activated, after a couple days you will get a notice that you're not activated, a watermark, but Windows will run indefinitely. It won't prevent you from running any software. It runs forever without activation. You just can't personalize it. But you can install apps, run all your apps. I've known people that run Windows 11 since day one. They've never activated it, and the little watermark doesn't bother them. If you do want to activate it, though, I would recommend getting your key from VIP URCD keys, because you'll get a real legitimate product key. And then, of course, you get support with it, which a lot of key sellers at that price range don't offer any support. There's just not enough money to pay for support. I don't know how VIP URCD keys, I don't know how the money works. There's a reason why nobody else really does that I'm aware of. Not for that price anyway. So I don't know how those economics work out for them. I'm going to go back over to Windows. You can see a video driver's going in right now because the screen is blanked out, and then it'll come back here. And I want to go back over to Windows Update and see how we're progressing. All right, very good. So with that, let me bring back camera 1. And that was much, much easier. This is what it should have been on our original review, but we shoot this live and unrehearsed. What I'm doing here, here's the thing that I don't understand. When you watch reviews of mini PCs, who checks to see what the warranty is like? Who checks? I mean, they'll read it to you. Oh, it's a 1-year warranty. Well, reach out to their support. Just before you make your review that you're editing, which is what all these reviewers do, the same thing. While you're editing your video, reach out to their support and ask them a question. See how long it takes to get a response, or if you get a response at all. That should be a part of your review, in my opinion. Open the unit up. Let's see what it looks like inside. Is it easy to get in? Some reviewers do that, some don't. Some just take the manufacturer's word for everything, and therefore they're not reviews, they're commercials. This is how you can spot the difference. Furthermore, what if you want to reinstall Windows on it? Can you get the drivers? Does the manufacturer have a website? Can you download the drivers, or do they have leech limits because they're using a free service? That should be a part of a real review. Otherwise, you're not getting it. Let me rephrase. Somebody could take a look at something and say, I like how this looks. But if you take it apart and see how it's built, if you have questions for the manufacturer, if you need help, does the manufacturer respond? And if so, over how much time? Are you able to help yourself by going to the manufacturer's website? And if you are, do the drivers they provide actually work? Because sometimes they don't include the right drivers. B-Link could tell you a few things about that if they were honest. But they're not going to be honest. They'll deny, because it's not illegal for them to lie. So until somebody sues them, which likely isn't going to happen, because if you're buying a very inexpensive computer, you probably can't afford an attorney. That will cost you way more than the computer costs. These companies will get away with it until such time that word gets out from real reviews, thorough reviews, that discourages people from buying such things unless they're willing to accept those consequences. But oftentimes these are victims who didn't know until it was too late that there is no support. You're past your return period, and you're on your own. And had you known that before you made the purchase, you might not have purchased it from that company. Why is that just not standard practice in this industry for anybody doing reviews? What you often see is they review a product here on YouTube. They're all excited because it's new and there's a lot of hype from the PR company. They buy into it like zombies. They're excited, putting on their fake personas, being these slick game show hosts on YouTube, going, look at this great new machine. And then they read off all the PR materials without verifying anything. They're not journalists. Then on top of that, you never see the computer again. They've moved on. They don't come back in 6 months and say, well, here's how it's running today. They don't say, hey, we had a support issue, and here's how it was taken care of, or here's how we were ignored. Do you have any idea how frustrating this is for me? This is basic 101 consumer helpful knowledge that any consumer would be appreciative of before making a purchasing decision. That information could make or break that sale, basically. And at least if the consumer is aware of everything and they're still okay with buying it, they know what to expect. They're okay with it. Nobody's hurt. But when people get blindsided, they feel victimized. And when the reviewers play into the hands of the manufacturers instead of playing to their viewers, that's messed up. In my opinion, when a YouTube content creator is representing the company that sends them the product for free so they can keep getting more free products, and they're not verifying the things the company is telling them to say, like the PR materials, even if the company is not telling them to say it, even if they're just looking at the website or reading it out loud to you, they're now a part of the lie in some cases. And yet they take no accountability, and very few viewers will ever hold them accountable. Say, hey, you know, I bought this because you recommended it, and now they don't, there's no drivers, there's no support, I'm screwed, I'm stuck out of, you know, $300 or $400 or whatever because you recommended it. Well, what are you going to do to make it right? You find me one content creator that says, it's not my problem, or that doesn't say that, that says, let me make it right. They won't. 100% of the time, prove me wrong. The content creators will accept no responsibility. Nobody held a gun to your head and forced you to buy it. But you bought it under false pretenses from the manufacturer that were then fed by a trusted content creator. Maybe that content creator doesn't deserve your trust, because it seems to me, from my perspective, they care more about towing the manufacturer's line than looking out for their viewers. So you could have tens of thousands of viewers and one manufacturer. Whose side should you be on if you're the content creator? In my opinion, that's an obvious answer. But to most content creators, their obvious answer is very different. So be aware, just watch for these little warning red flags and content that you see here regarding mini PC reviews. When somebody says, these are the top 5 mini PCs of 2026, they're probably getting paid to make that video. Probably. Furthermore, based on whose values? There's a reason why you don't see that content from me. Because there's all different kinds of scenarios where each computer we review here may be a great purchase for you. So for me to say these are the top 5 according to who? According to whose values? Who's deciding? It's too subjective, right? My top 5 could be very different from your top 5. Neither one of us are wrong, so what's the point of that? Are you really helping anybody? If you don't know them and you can just blindly say this is a good computer for you, and you haven't, I don't even know your name, let alone what is a good computer for you. That's just clickbait. That's all it is. It's just, I have nothing else to do. I'm out of, if I was a content creator that ran out of ideas, I could always just grab some of the mini PCs I've got and pick my favorites. And that's okay. You can title your video, these are my favorites. But to say these are the best top 5, no, they're not. Absolutely not. These are the best machines for gaming. No, they're not. Those are for the games you play, not necessarily the games or flight simulators I play. That information is completely misleading, but it generates clicks and the content creators get paid. You want to be a part of that? Then every time you watch those videos, you're encouraging that behavior. I'm just saying, they're not breaking the law, they're not doing anything wrong, but morally and ethically, I find that it's very questionable and suspicious, and will hold back my trust and loyalty to any content creator that does that. That's me, personally. I end up telling YouTube not to recommend channels to me more so than I subscribe. Because if you earn my subscription, you've earned my trust. Until, you know, by the way, it takes years to build trust. Consistent, you know, you go back over my channel, I have been consistent, honest, open, transparent from day one. Starting in 2008, all the way till today, nothing's changed. If I lie to you once, I completely undermine myself and destroy my entire history on YouTube of trustworthiness. That's all it takes. It takes years to build it, and it takes seconds to completely destroy it. And earning it back will be almost impossible. So why content creators do this? I don't know. Why viewers keep coming back for more? I look at their views and I see how misleading the review is, whether it's intentional or not. I hope the viewers shift and start realizing entertainment from consumer advocacy. Even if it's a balance, even if on one hand they're standing up and, you know, towing the manufacturer's line, at some point that they take the other side of it and say, oh, from a viewer's perspective, what's it like for support? What's it like if you need warranty? What's it like if you need drivers? That's the part that's missing out of the majority of tech review videos. It's only, this is what's new today. We're so excited. I can't wait, you know, and then you never hear from it again, and they're on to the next thing. And if that made you excited enough to put your money forward and you got a product that's a dog, that's your fault. It's solely your fault. There is no legal recourse for you. So just so you know, that's the way the system works. I don't want to play in that game, so I play by my own rules, which is I treat everybody the same way, whether you're a real paying customer to my real business or you're my viewer. I don't play the game two different ways depending on who I'm playing against. It's always the same, it's always consistent, and it's been that way as long as I've started this YouTube channel. And it was like that before I started the YouTube channel. I'm not changing. Trust is not something that's easily achieved, and I'm not so dismissive of it to throw it all away for a few dollars. I'd rather earn a few dollars over a long period of time than a large amount of money once and then burn all my bridges, my integrity, as a means for me to get ahead in the short term. It will ultimately hurt me in the long term unless I'm constantly changing careers or moving around a lot in some careers. You know, you can do terrible at your job over here and you just pack your bags, move to another city, go get a similar job with someone else and continue to be terrible until they're sick of you. Then you just pack your bags and you move again and you get another job doing the same thing. And some people live their lives that way. I'm not as nomadic. I pretty much set roots in and establish myself in this one place and try to avoid moving unless it's absolutely 100% a scenario uncontrollable. Because if I have a choice, I don't want to move. Wherever I am is where I want to stay. It's a lot of work to move. It's a lot of hassle. And, you get to know your neighbors and your friends and the restaurants and then start over again. I mean, I guess it keeps life interesting, but it's very hard to build up anything of loyalty if you're constantly, moving from place to place. It's hard to establish any friendships that last. At least that's been my experience. So we're just downloading this preview update on this right now. And it's done. I mean, that's so much faster than it was in part one, where we spent probably an hour or longer trying to figure out the drivers. So I'm happy that the drivers are correct. So good for GMK Tech for providing the right drivers. And I'm glad that they provide the, install all batch file. That's fantastic. I'd like to see Miniswarm start adopting that. In the meantime, just having the drivers alone and making sure they're the right ones. Sometimes companies, for example, we demonstrated B-Link has the wrong drivers, and then they fail to acknowledge or admit it. That adds insult to injury. When someone contradicts you without evidence, it's offensive to me. Hey, it's raining outside. No, it isn't. What do you mean, no, it isn't? What is happening outside? Beautiful day. No, it isn't. It's raining. No, it isn't. See, that's just contradiction. That's not going to win any court cases. You're guilty. No, I'm not. You have to provide evidence if you're going to contradict. Otherwise, you're being a child. I know I am, but what are you? This kind of silly, immature nonsense. And to see grown adults acting like 4-year-olds, I'm seeing it more and more and more, and they're almost proud of it. Look at me, act like a little kid, and I'm in my 40s. That's humiliating. Why would you humiliate yourself? Where's your dignity? What's dignity? Well, that explains it. So when B-Link support says, no, we don't have that problem, you're like, you do. No, we don't. That's their answer. Well, prove it to me. Then they go silent. No answers. Now, we did not reach out to GMK Tech on this, so I don't know what their support's like. And the previous GMK Tech, the M8 and the K15, recommended buys. This one, no, absolutely not. It's too old. In my opinion, that is almost bottom of the barrel in 2026. You could do better for the money. So here we're not saying bad things about GMK Tech. we're saying they're not perfect. They have some products that have aged out, and I think they're just trying to deplete the inventory and get rid of them. And if you're okay with it, it's a fine computer, don't get me wrong. I just think you could spend the same or a little bit more and get something more powerful and more upgradable than this. That's all. But it's not a bad machine. It's just compared to what else you could get for the money. It also does, like when I touch it, it feels really warm. That's quite unusual with mini PCs today. The last few units we reviewed don't get warm at all. This is the only one that I remember being warm in our recent testing, running this hot. Which doesn't necessarily hurt anything, but at the same time, why is it running so much warmer on the skin of it when you touch it than all the other ones? Why? And that has me a little concerned, because if all the other ones don't, when you touch them, aren't this warm, what's different about this one that it is? Now, if it was ultra powerful, you say, oh, you know, it comes with the power, but it isn't. It's not all that powerful. It is a really small package. I mean, if what you want is really, really small, this fits that for a very good price. So that's why I say when it comes to my recommendations, it's based on what I think matters to me and my customers. And I've never had a customer say the mini PC is too big. It's not a conversation that's ever occurred. When I send somebody a mini PC, whether that mini PC is like this or like this, it's always about the computer. It's never about the size. It's too big, it's too little. That conversations never happen. But that doesn't mean there aren't people out there that matters to that I just haven't interacted with. So if what you want is a very compact machine at a very low price, it's got decent performance, it's easy to get into, but limited upgradability, that gets the job done. It's not like it's that much smaller than, say, you know, your standard mini. It might be half an inch shorter and, you know, half an inch lengthwise, widthwise, and height-wise. Half inch on each side. That's a big deal. But again, for some people, that could be a big deal. So now that we have the driver loaded on here, let's see if the leach limit's been reached today, if we just happen to pick a bad day, or is it normally hitting leach limits every day? See, these are the kind of follow-ups I want to see when I'm watching a review. I don't care how many frames per second you get in Counter-Strike. Oh good, you showed me 5 examples of games you like. What about the other 200,000 games? How does it play those? You're going to review all 200,000 games and measure all the frame rates? Of course you're not. Nobody's going to sit through that anyway. It's kind of a waste of time to play games on a computer unless you're interested in that game. Then what you're really interested in is how well does it play the game you want to play. So that's where you're going to look for that 30-day return window when you make the purchase, so you have the time. It's very unlikely you're going to find a content creator showing an example of gameplay on a game that is like important to you. It's possible, it's just not likely. There's just too many games. And it's going to play some games better than others. What matters to you is, will it play the game you want to play to your level of acceptance? You're the only one that can decide that. You're going to have to order the machine, and if you put your game on it, you don't like it, return it. So make sure you buy from somewhere like Amazon that has 30-day free returns. And that way you're not stuck with a bad purchasing decision and buyer's remorse. And you don't put it on the content creator. And if you have technical questions, the content creator probably doesn't know the answer to your technical questions. Just email support to the company, see if they respond. Because if they don't respond to you, that's probably a good sign you shouldn't be buying from them, and you just saved yourself a lot of effort. That's another reason not to ask the content creator for technical information. You email the company. Even if the content creator could respond, the content creator is not representing that company. They don't work for that company. So if the content creator gives you wrong information, too bad. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the content creator made a mistake or misunderstood the question. You can't blame them. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't even have to answer you. But that's a great excuse to email the manufacturer and say, I'm thinking about buying this mini PC you make. Does it support this or that in the BIOS? Ask before you buy it. If you get no response, maybe you don't want to buy it, because that means if you have a problem later and you need warranty, maybe they won't respond to you then either. Meaning the warranty is all on, it's all words, but no follow through. These are all red flags that you can investigate on your own if you have interest in the device and you want to learn more. On the other hand, again, if you buy it from Amazon with free 30-day returns, you can do all the investigation you want and don't ask anybody anything. If you want to keep it, keep it. If you want to return it, you'll know. You'll know within a week, let alone 30 days. And if after, before 30 days, if you decide it's not for you, put it back in its box and all the materials it came with, and Amazon will pay for the return shipping, and Amazon will give you a full refund to the penny. And then what you should do is write a review on Amazon. For better or for worse, either way, share your experience with others so anybody like-minded to your values could save them a headache, or they can buy with confidence, setting their expectations from, no tie to a manufacturer giving you free stuff so that you're not going to hold your tongue. Okay, so with all that, I was going to go to the GMK Tech website, see if we can download those drivers today. We're just about done with this download here, so while we're waiting, we'll just multitask. Start without my data. Confirm and continue. Continue without Google data. There we go. So I'm going to type in GMK Tech. GMK Tech M2 Pro S. That's what we're working with today. Drivers. Driver, it's fine. And the first link does take us to GMK Tech. I don't want to go to whatever this is. Digital Joshua. I don't know who that is. No, thank you. So we go to the manufacturer's website only, not third-party driver utilities. You can if you want to. You won't be seeing me do that. And we're going to look for the M series, M2 Pro S. Downloads, driver, that's what I want. This is what I could not get the other day. Will it let us do it today? Let's see. Download anyway. See that? We've hit the leech limit again. So that's messed up. Now, I will tell you, for me, when I downloaded again, when I tried downloading it after 10 o'clock, my time, Arizona, which is currently Pacific time zone right now, it worked fine. So I didn't have to literally wait 24 hours. I had to wait till the end of the day. So I'm glad I downloaded it ahead of time. That's why I'm telling you, if you don't have a copy of your drivers, you should download them before you need them. And I hope you never need them. Let's close that out. All right, so after this downloads, it'll start installing and we can reboot. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, I run the optimizer tool. I install VLC. I'll download the latest Intel chipset driver and put it on there. That's it. And then what I'll probably do is start taking pictures of it and put it online on eBay so I can sell it, because I don't want it. That's way too many device drivers on a machine that old where we're not getting the drivers from Windows Update. I mean, if you go back and watch part 1, we did get some of the drivers from Windows Update. We got about half of them, I want to say. And I can't remember what was left over. But for some reason, like the chipset driver, you don't get from Windows Update, and you don't get it from the Intel Driver Assistant. And the HID driver, the Human Interface Event driver, that's another one that's, I don't know why Windows Update doesn't provide it automatically, or why it's not part of the chipset driver. Oftentimes when you search the hardware ID, it'll point you to like the SMIO driver, which is wrong. That information is inaccurate. That's why I don't like looking under the PCIe hardware identification. It doesn't work that well. I'm not sure why. You'd think that ID should be accurate when you look it up, but sometimes I guess numerous different device drivers might fall under the same ID. And I do think there are websites that catalog the hardware IDs versus, Google or YouTube search engines. There are specific PCIe vendor lookup sites. I just don't remember what they are, and I don't want to. I just don't want to. Shouldn't be that hard anymore. It's 2026. And the reason it's still that hard is because this machine is that old. So we're dealing with older computers. Unfortunately, it means sometimes the drivers could be difficult to find or even just to figure out what the heck it's supposed to be. Unless you have some technical savviness, in which case, you might enjoy the challenge. Or maybe it wouldn't even be a challenge for you. And for the rest of us, that's a showstopper. And I've seen people bring computers in for repair with errors in the device manager. And I go, did you know your computer's not running to its full potential? No. I go, well, you're missing chipset drivers. I am. They don't even know. And then when you put the chipset drivers on for them, you know what they say? What'd you do to my computer? It's running faster than I've ever seen it run. I don't think it ran this fast when it was new. That means you've been missing the chipset driver the whole time. So you had all this performance that you paid for that you're not using, and you don't know enough to know you're not using it. So I don't want you to be in that side of the consumer side. I want you to look and see. Sometimes you'll be under the impression everything's running great. I've run into some machines where I think everything's fine, and I fire it up and I look at the device manager and notice a couple of things are missing. And the device manager, they're missing drivers. And then you put those missing drivers on, and it's running better than fine. It gets so much better. So that's the part I think is fascinating, is people have no complaints. A lot of times they're like, yeah, it's fine. It's fast, it's working great. And you go, well, you might think so, but as a technician, I'll tell you it would be running faster if you had all the drivers in. And if you don't look to see, because you think everything's fine, then you're just, if I close my eyes, the danger goes away kind of mentality. An ostrich putting its head in the sand kind of a deal. So I'm hoping that we can avoid having you in that scenario by knowing what to look for. And it never hurts, especially with friends and family, check their device managers. Usually, if they're good, it'll stay good until they change something, like they bought something new and they've added it. Then they call you for help. Check that device manager again. I've seen people that have 10 printers installed in their Windows operating system, and I'm looking through their programs, and I go, you have an HP and a Canon and an Epson and a Brother printer? And they're like, oh, no. I had a Brother printer and it died, and that's when I bought the HP. But then I ended up returning the HP, and then I bought the Epson. And you're like, okay, so hold up, stop. You don't have the Brother printer anymore? No, I have the Brother, but okay, so which one do you not have? I don't have the HP anymore. Okay, can I remove the HP driver? Yes. All of a sudden, you start taking all these drivers out. One probably doesn't make much difference, but you're taking out drivers to hardware that isn't there, plus all of the additional bloated software that HP includes. And you're like, okay, let's get this off of here, and it'll uninstall sometimes 3 or 4 different things for the one printer if it's HP. And you reboot the machine, and suddenly it's a lot more responsive. The USB ports are working better. And it did the customer no good to keep that stuff. They just didn't know enough to know they should have uninstalled the application when they no longer were using that hardware. And especially after they've done it 2 or 3 times, it starts creating a problem. That's when I get the call, right? And sometimes you'll see in the device manager an HP printer that, has an error. And you're like, you have an HP printer? No. And the best way to remove it would be to then go to your apps section of Windows and uninstall the HP app. That should take the driver out, reboot, then check it again. If it's still in there, click once on the device manager on that item. Hit the red X to delete it. If it comes back, they're lying to you. It's still plugged in. That's happened too. They don't know. Oh, that's an HP printer? I'm sorry, I confused that. I thought it was a Brother. Oh, here we go. Okay. So it's the Brother driver I could uninstall. The good news is you can always go to the manufacturer's website and re-download the driver if you need, if you accidentally removed it. But in most cases, Windows Update takes care of that for printers these days, most of the time. Hey, there's Mitch Morrison popping in saying hello. He says, what do you call a baseball player who chews sunflower seeds? The designated spitter. There you go. Dad joke of the day. So, on the one hand, I'm kind of glad other reviewers don't do thorough reviews or really look out for their viewers, because that means what I'm doing is different and, in my opinion, far more valuable to the viewer. I think what they're doing is far more valuable to the manufacturer. I don't know why you can't be valuable to both. I don't know why some people have to take one side or the other. But if I have to pick sides, I'm always going to pick sides with the viewers, not the company. I will support the masses before I support the individual. If what's good for the masses is not good for the individual, I'm okay with that, because it should be good for everyone. A good company, to my level of values, will sell you a good product at a good price with good support, and they'll do so happily. And you, the consumer, will buy it happily. Nobody should be pissed off at anybody. Nobody should be scamming the other person. And as long as everybody holds true to their word, that the manufacturer sells everything honestly, transparently, and if you have any questions or problems, is there to answer them, they should be happy. You as a consumer, getting a good value, getting a quality product, having a manufacturer that seems to care about you and wants to make sure you're happy, that should make you happy. Nobody should pick sides. But if I have to pick a side, I'll tell you right now, it's always going to be on the consumer side. Now, we have seen some instances where there have been some retaliatory type posts from certain viewers who feel victimized, who go on Twitter and make lies up and try and drum up support to boycott a company. That's completely unjust, bullying, harassment, and people saying Windows Update was causing SSDs to fail was complete lies. It was all a hoax. I told you it was a hoax. When the political party in office says we're going after TP-Link, no, they're not. I told you that was all just talk. They were never going to do it. And then the FCC says, oh, we're not going to allow any new routers unless they manufacture in the USA without a special waiver. Who's the first company to get a special waiver? TP-Link, the very company the same government said they were considering going after. How do you do both? How do you say we're going to put you in jail and now we're going to give you a promotion 3 months later? We're going to come after you. We're talking about coming after you. And then months later, you're the first one we're approving on our new strict rules. What? So I'm going to call that out. And in that case, you'll say, well, now you're sticking up for the company. You're not sticking up for it. I'm still sticking up for the individuals. All those individuals that were lied to about Windows Update causing a solid state drive failure, including the content creators that made videos and said, look, I'll prove it, and then made another video that said, oh, I needed a BIOS update. Didn't even have the integrity to take the original video down. There's still videos up from content creators reacting with false information and false evidence without the integrity to remove those videos. I'm against those people. They're poisoning the community. They're the problem. Let me restart this. So if we have part of the community making up lies, trying to boycott a company and get everybody to jump on their bandwagon, I'm still protecting the real community, the real masses who think, oh my gosh, am I a victim of this? Should I do something? No, absolutely not. Microsoft didn't do anything wrong. Now, that doesn't mean they never do anything wrong. I'll call it out when they do. Nobody gets a free pass. But at the same time, I'm interested in the masses. And if some of those masses want to stir trouble, I'm going to call them out to the masses and say, don't listen to this little group. They appear to be a mass. They're not. They're a little tiny group that's big mouths. You might say, wow, it sounds like there's a crowd of people in the other room. No, it's just 4 people. They're just really loud. So identifying what's real from what's not real, for me, doing my job for my customers, that's a big part of being a tech today. My customers go, I got a pop-up on my screen. It says I need to update Malwarebytes. Is this real? Yes. And they go, oh, I'm sorry to waste your time. I go, no, you didn't waste my time. I'd rather you asked me before you click anything than you click the wrong thing and now we get a big mess to clean up. So you can ask me something really quick, or we can have a big sort of repair bill and hours of labor to undo damage. So anytime I tell my customers, and I tell you guys, before you make a decision, if you're not sure, is this a real warning? Do I really have a virus? Ask if you're not sure. It's not a bother, because the repair is a lot more time consuming and difficult than avoiding it's a lot easier. So I always encourage my customers, when in doubt, pick up the phone or text me. I'm more than happy to answer your question. No problem. And that happens all the time. This says my domain's about to expire. Is this real? No. How about now? Yes, that's the real one. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes they get both a fake one and a real one, and they can't tell them apart. And I go, look, when you get those emails, just forward them to me if you don't know, and I'll tell you. I'll respond to it and I'll let you know. There's a scam on YouTube where people will say, hey, your video contains some of my material. It's copyrighted, and I don't want to get YouTube involved. You know, I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to mark on your record or anything. So I thought I'd just handle it personally by sending it. It's a scam. There's no copyrighted material. That's not how YouTube works. So scammers are also scamming content creators who don't know any better. And some of these content creators have people that look up to them for their knowledge, and they're the ones getting scammed. The very people that you look up to are the ones getting scammed in some cases, and they'll never share that information with their audience. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. But you will find, if you search for, you know, copyright hoax on YouTube, content creators showing you the hoax, showing you the email, and then showing you what happens if you follow along. They're trying to steal your YouTube credentials and take over your channel is what they're doing. And anybody making content on YouTube should know how YouTube works, in my opinion. Even if you're showing people how to crochet, you've got to understand how the platform works, or you're going to be the next victim. And when you've got people looking up to you because you're a content creator, whether you realize it or not, you're setting an example. And you're also going to establish whether or not you can be trusted. Because if you don't know those basics, what else have you been talking about that you don't know the basics of? That's the way I think anyway. So right now, the Computex show is going on in Taipei. And there's just, like from the videos I've seen, nothing. Nashua says, hey, we're coming out with our very first liquid cooler. Could have used that about 10 years ago. Fantech says, hey, we're coming out with this new case. Who's building computers? Corsair says, oh, we got a case inspired by Halo. Oh, the game from 2003? 23 years late on that, and nobody's building computers right now. Very few people. Now you decided to come out with it? Oh, Asus has a Wi-Fi 8 router on display. Is it real? It might be. Okay. I feel so bad for all the people that paid money to go there. I see people from all these other countries, content creators, all traveling to Taiwan for this event, and I'm so glad I didn't go. It's all just a big goose egg. I'm looking at all of it, and I'm like, none of this is exciting. Look, I'm a big fan of Minis Forum, and they've got a booth there, but they're not showing anything new. It's all the same stuff we've already seen. So what's the point? What a disappointing year this has been, at least as far as innovation and new tech goes. There's just nothing, or it's too little too late. Like Nashua coming out with a liquid cooler. You've got to be kidding me. You really thought this was a good time? Oh yeah, I'm sure they're going to sell out right away. Yeah, well, the idea behind these expositions or these expos is that you get to see all this new exciting stuff. But with the industry in the state that it's in, I think they should have canceled it this year. But I don't know. Have you guys seen any content creators this week talking about anything exciting that you were excited about from Computex? Because if you have, please let me know. I haven't seen it. What I have seen is all too little, too late, or same stuff they released earlier in the year. They're just, continuing to show off the same stuff. Oh, talked about the AMD 9070, the GRE. Yeah. Well, but again, with the RAM shortage, what do you expect? Joseph says, Kerry, thanks for the great show. In your opinion, would this PC be too old for just basic internet and YouTube? No, it's not too old for that. It's just that it's, oh, you're not asking about this one. You're asking about an HP EliteDesk 800 G5, which is an i5 9500. So an i5 9500, as far as I know, that's Windows 11 compatible. If your computer runs a supported operating system, you're fine. Like, unless it's not doing something you want it to do, like it's not capable or it's too slow, like you're trying to edit 4K videos on that, and you're like, oh, it takes forever. Let me just verify, but I'm pretty sure i5 9500 is Windows 11 compatible. Oh, wrong keyboard. i5 9500. Fully supports Windows 11. Assuming the motherboard has TPM 2.0 and Secure Boot. Secure Boot doesn't have to be enabled, it just has to have the option. Windows 11 requires you have the option. It doesn't require you enable it. TPM you must have. So you're saying you can pick one of these up for $110. Well, here's the thing. 16 gigs of RAM. Let's just talk about 16 gigs of RAM. Let me come over here. Let me go to this machine over here and show you something. Let's say you went to Amazon to buy just 16 gigs of RAM today. Likely that's DDR4 RAM. So DDR4, and it'll be a laptop memory module. You just want one of those. And let's sort this by the lowest price. See, that's DDR2. We want DDR4. It's DDR3. You should have DDR4 in that machine. So the cheapest DDR4 same size as that one. 1 gig. No, that can't be right. Trying to figure out where are they putting the size of the module. Well, those prices jumped up quick, didn't they? So that's 8 gigs there for $138. This is 4 gigs. I'm finding it right here. $58. That's 16 gigs. They want $295. So if you were to buy that machine for $110 and you took the RAM and the storage out of it, you could sell that for about $150 and still have the computer, the case, the motherboard, the cooler, the Wi-Fi card, the power brick, and then you could sell that. You could break that apart and probably sell it for $250. On eBay if you wanted to do the work. It's pretty unusual to find a refurbished PC that they don't pull the RAM and storage out of it these days for that very reason. I'm seeing that same computer for $100 with no RAM or storage. So are you sure you're getting the RAM and storage? Peter, our friend in the Netherlands, contributes €1 in Super Chat. Thank you, Peter. Richard DeFries joins us and says hello. And yeah, as I mentioned with this, we're pretty much done with this. Everything else is just little maintenance tests. Intel chipset driver updater. We'll go back to Windows Update again, just look for more updates. We can run the Intel driver assistant just to see if there's any other updated drivers for the network cards. And install VLC, clean up the unwanted apps. I don't want that default in Windows 11, like Media Center, Media Player, Xbox stuff. I take that stuff out. It doesn't make that big of a difference. And then I run the disk cleanup. I run the optimizer. It's done. Something else I don't like about this computer, personal. It's just me personally. Let me go full screen because I got to show you this on the big screen here. Let's go close up. This piano black surface is nothing but a fingerprint magnet. I can't touch this with it without leaving marks. My hands are clean. They're not greasy or sweaty or anything. Look at that. It's just a fingerprint magnet. It's crazy. So I wish this was matte black. And then, of course, when I rub it down, the first thing I notice is how warm it is. I'm like, wow, that is awfully warm. But we already talked about that. So for those reasons, unfortunately, I cannot recommend this machine. It's not that it's a bad machine. It's very old. And I think for that amount of money, you could get something much, much newer. And that device driver issue, having so many device drivers not built into Windows 11 after 4 or 5 years, it's never going to happen. That's just the way it's going to be for the lifetime of that computer. And as long as you're prepared for it, that's fine. But with a newer machine that does have drivers, you know, maybe there's 1 or 2 missing. Or, you know, the last couple, we didn't even need anything. We got everything from Windows Update. And then I still put the chipset driver on anyway, just to get the latest one, when technically, you know, the device manager was happy without needing any drivers from the manufacturer. I think that was the case on the Glorlin. And the Glorlin is another one. It just kind of falls short for me. The company just doesn't have, the website's just not up to snuff. And I don't know why it's taking them so long. Like, I could have had this done, if I started writing the website now, I'd have it all done by the end of the day. I don't see what the big deal is. But, you know, maybe my experience in this industry, you know, I started playing with my first computers in 1980, 81. So this is all child's play. This is marbles. But maybe to them, they don't have all that experience and they don't have all that knowledge. And maybe they have to hire that out. And they do their best to explain what they want. The person they're hiring just does what they ask them to do, and it turns out they didn't ask properly, or they weren't communicating effectively what they needed. So unless you do it yourself, or you've got in-house employees doing it, hiring out a contractor to do it usually leads to things taking longer and not being done correctly because of a misunderstanding, or the fact that the business owner just expects the contractor to know what they need. The contractor can't read your mind. You tell the contractor that's what you want, that's what they build. That's it. It's not their fault. They did what you asked them to do. If you didn't know enough to ask, you know, make sure you do this, this, and this, and itemize everything, whose fault is it when it's still not working? The person who hired the worker. That's the person to blame, not the worker. Joseph said the company that he's talking about buying it from says they sell to low-income families and schools in my area. They are certified Microsoft refurbishers. Yeah, well, I mean, those kind of organizations sound wonderful. It doesn't sound like anybody's scamming you. But when you buy a computer that old, I want you to understand you're not going to get any warranty, And you're not going to get a computer that's going to last very long. It's a temporary solution. Think of it like a spare tire. That computer, an i5-9500, came out about 7 years ago, 9 years ago, actually. How long do you think a computer should last? Just out of curiosity, what do you think? Never mind the operating system, just the hardware. How long do you think that's viable? I mean, do you see many Pentium computers around these days? How many years has it been since the last Pentium processor? What about the original Core Duo processors or the Core 2 Duos? Do you see any of those around anymore? It's not that they don't work, they're just impractical to try and use them. They're way too slow and too limited. So, and then if you can't put Windows 11 on it, then you better put an operating system that has support, or you're probably going to find yourself a victim of identity theft and viruses that'll just never stop. So in that case, you're just better off using a phone or a tablet. But yeah, if there's an organization near you that does, like you mentioned here, Microsoft certified refurbishers, those are great organizations. What you've described is somebody I would recommend, based on your description, for low-income individuals. Absolutely. Of course, you could always do your own research too. You can go on Google and type in the name of this company and look for reviews, see what people have to say, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. Because if $110 is a lot of money for you, then that means you've got plenty of time. So take your time and do your research, and you know what to expect. Mitch says, it's Africa hot here. Yes, it is. And it's going to get worse. Any other questions I can answer for you? This will be the time to ask. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. I guess I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. And while I'm waiting for you guys to ask any other questions, let me jump back over to this desktop over here and see when the CPU of this i5-9500 you said. Let's just ask, when was i5-9500 released? Typed i6. That corrects it. It knows what I meant. 2019. It's not as old as I said 8 or 9. It's 7 years old. And I would give that a maximum life of 12 years. But it probably doesn't have 12 years left in it. Only because Windows 11 support could end between, what would be 12 years? It would be 2031. No. Yeah, 2031. I'd say that computer's probably decent until at most 2029. Assuming you don't have any component failures, which, you know, electronics are pretty solid state these days. They not pretty solid, they're literally solid state. So you're not likely, you know, if you take care of it, component failures are pretty rare. But as for its usability, I give it about 3 years of life left in it. You know, no, system properties. And we've got a i7-1185G7. So when was that released? This is only a year newer. Wow, that's really shocking. This brand new computer that we bought off Amazon from GMK Tech, this chip was introduced 1 year after this computer you're talking about buying refurbished for $110. So yours isn't as bad as I said it was, and this one is worse than I mean, I already said it wasn't recommended because it was old, but that certainly paints a different picture, doesn't it? Because what you're buying is used. This is being sold new, And there's only a difference of 1 year between them. At least as far as like the launch date goes. Yeah, launched September of 2020 is what it says here. For $426. Well, that means this GMK Tech computer is using components that are 6 years old. But it's being sold brand new with a 1-year warranty. That's why I'm not recommending it. Isn't that crazy? You can buy a refurbished computer for $110. That's only 1 year older than the tech. This is brand new, but the tech in it is 6 years old. The one you're buying, the tech in it is 7 or 8 years old, depending on which time of year it was, from the day it was introduced to the market. So your actual computer may not be that old, but the technology in it, that's what I'm basing it on, is when was that technology available for sale? When was the release date? WD180K says, Carrie, I received my Lombardi's Pizza 4-pack. Looking forward to dinner this evening. I have another channel where I'm doing frozen pizza reviews. And I don't believe Lombardi's actually ships those pizzas frozen. I think they're just refrigerated, right? Because when I made that first one, that was never... First one, that was never... Like, we ended up freezing it just for a couple hours and then cooked it that same night. Best pizza I've ever had. Flat out, bar none. Then I made one frozen that I've had in the freezer a couple days. Put the pepperoni they included on it. Wasn't very good. So now I still have 2 more left. And they tell you, oh, you got to use them within 4 days. No, they'll be in the freezer fine. But I always thaw them out, these Lombardi's pizzas. I don't cook them from frozen. I thaw them out, put it in the refrigerator overnight. Then the next day it's ready to go. And so I'm going to try the last 2 I've got just to see if freezing it has affected the flavor of it. But you want to eat it while it's fresh for the best taste. Man, those are good though. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. Especially if you don't like it. Andy says he bought 2 8GB Crucial RAM kits from Amazon resale a couple months ago, so he's swapping RAM around. Frankie B says, are all the GMK Tech mini PCs the same way to get the drivers? As far as I know, like if we go back over, let's go back over here. Let's take a look. We'll go to GMK Tech, driver download. Click this first link that takes us to GMK Tech's website. So let's say you bought this $3,000 EVO X2 mini PC for AI. This is the most expensive computer they sell. And we want drivers for this. Are we going to be told we can't get the drivers because the leach limit's been reached? Because at this price point, I would expect better. I might be able to excuse it at the price point on our what's this called, an M2 Pro S. But on the EVO X2, when you're spending several $1,000s, see, they've got all this videos. We're probably not in here because we're too honest. Oh, we're not in here because we never reviewed it. Never mind. There's manuals, driver. Okay, so let's say we want these drivers. Look at, it's still for a Windows version from last year. So it's already out of date, despite they're selling these brand new for top dollar right now. They can't be bothered to update this. But can we even get it if we wanted to? Hit download. And then we want, yeah, these are all 24H2. Why is there 3 of them? What's the difference? This has something in Chinese, this has something in Chinese, and this doesn't. Otherwise, they're word for word, letter for letter, the same. File size is exactly, they have the same file 3 times. Okay, well, let's click on one and see if we can download it. Download quota exceeded for this file, so not for the whole site. So let's do the next one. Exceeded. See what I'm looking at down? Am I covering it with the camera? No. Let's do the last one here. Download. Download quota exceeded. So you'd be just as screwed with a $3,000 computer from this company as you are with this $300 computer from this company. That's something to think about. And it's something GMK Tech should resolve. If we look at their competitors that do this, you'll often have 2 different download links. One for Google Drive and one for Microsoft OneDrive. That way, if one has reached its quota for the day, you just go to the other one. Now, if the other one also reached its quota, well, that's the problem when you don't host your own servers. So there you go. Good question, Frankie. Thank you for asking, because I'm glad we checked that out. It appears to be universal site-wide. Once the limit's hit on one side of it for one product, or whatever it is, you know, the more products they have, the more likely they're going to reach their bandwidth limitation of the free bandwidth they're getting sooner. So every time they introduce a new computer and they introduce another driver download, all it's doing is putting more burden on that free service. And the free service says, look, we're going to give you, if we take, for example, a plate of food, and I go, this plate of food serves 4 people. And you invite a friend over, now there's 5 of you, so everybody eats a little bit less, it's probably fine. But you've got a dozen people over now for a plate of food that serves 4. People are going to go hungry. You say, I'm sorry guys, I've got more food coming tomorrow. And now you just invited 12 more people over, but you still have the same plate of food. Designed to feed 4 people, now you're trying to feed 24 people with it. And then you invite some more people over, but you see what I'm saying? Every time GMK Tech introduces a new PC with new downloads, the amount of bandwidth that you're allowed to have every 24 hours for free doesn't change. So you're just going to consume that bandwidth. Your customers are going to consume it faster, meaning other customers are going to be too late and miss it, and you have to wait till the clock resets to try again tomorrow. If the company's that big and they have that many products, why don't they have their own servers? Dell, HP, Lenovo would find this to be undignified, unprofessional. They would never, ever do this. This is only something another culture would do, would think it's acceptable. In the American culture, this is humiliating. This is basically like saying, I run a company, but I'm too cheap to run it right. So instead of doing any advertising, I just get little Post-it notes and I stick them on billboards at other businesses in there. You remember when businesses used to have a little board you could put lost dog or wanted a babysitter or something like that? Sometimes you'd see other businesses, hey, we fix cracked windshields. Why are you advertising your business in this other business? That's very unprofessional. And in my line of work, I consider it to be undignified. If you're 16 years old, that's fine, you're a kid. But when you're trying to run a professional organization, and maybe you needed that as a temporary stopgap until you got your own servers, again, very reasonable. But at this point, GMK Tech's been around too long to be playing these games like they're little amateurs. That's an amateurish thing they're doing. Otherwise, they seem like a good company with a quality product. Again, I haven't tried their support, but if we assume the support's good and there's a good price and it's built well, it's a pretty minor complaint to have. But as long as you download the driver before you need it, who cares? So if I can't get that driver today, but I don't need it today, I'll just put it on my calendar to remind me to do it later in the evening, maybe closer to bedtime, or first thing in the morning when I wake up, and just download it. Once you've got it, save it, you never need it again. And then when you do need it, you can provide it to yourself and not hope that the GMK Tech website is going to be available, or that their links aren't broken, or that their quota hasn't been exceeded on their download bandwidth that they're using for free on Google. It's the same if I hosted a file myself and I said all of you could download it, you all won't be able to download it on Google for free, because the number of members we have, if you downloaded it, we're going to hit that bandwidth limit. We're going to get the same message. Hey, too many members already downloaded this today. Come back tomorrow. But simply by having my own NAS, like a Synology, it's not that expensive to provide their own server, to be their own cloud, and they won't even spend the money, or they don't know to do that. So there's no excuse for it. You can buy a very inexpensive NAS and, you know, use a name brand turnkey NAS that has all the security, open up the cloud service on it and wall off everything else. So there's nothing to steal, there's nothing to infect, and there's no impact on the rest of your network. You isolate it. It's really simple, it's inexpensive, and you have full control and no bandwidth limits. But on the other hand, if their internet service provider says, hey, listen, you've been getting a lot of downloads lately, we're going to charge you for this, they don't want to pay for that. And if they do, they'll have to raise the price of the machines. If they raise the price of the machines, we may not be able to afford them, and then you'll buy from the competitors who are saving the money because they're putting their stuff on Google Drive. And then how can you complain if you're the customer because you wanted the cheap one? How do you think they got it there? But the problem is, when they're selling you a $3,000 computer, that's not so cheap. And so at the very least for those customers, they should have some VIP access, in my opinion. You'd say, okay, well, for the cheap people, they can go to Google Drive, but for the big spenders, we got space on server for you. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Frankie B says you would be better off to back up the drivers before you wipe the PC. Right, but that's assuming you could back up your own drivers. In other words, if you've already determined you need to wipe the PC, whoops, just drag that over here a second. If you've already determined the PC needs to be wiped, it's probably too late to get the drivers. And you could back up your own drivers using the optimizer. That's absolutely true. But if you were not that technically savvy, you're just better off downloading the drivers from the manufacturer, because if you ask anybody how to do it, nobody's heard of the Windows 11 optimizer. They don't know what you're talking about. Most people don't know. Even other technicians, my peers, don't know how to do that in Windows. You ask any other content creator that's supposedly an expert, how do you back up your drivers? See how many of them know the answer to that. Very few, in my experience. They go, well, you just go to the manufacturer's website and download them. That's what most will tell you to do. So what I'm telling you to do is I'm saying, since you're going to hear that from everybody anyway, including the manufacturer, go to the manufacturer's website and download those drivers. You don't even have to wait till you receive the computer. When you've placed your order, the next thing you should do is go ahead and download those drivers so that you're ready when the computer arrives in the mail. You're already ahead of the game. And if you have any difficulty downloading the drivers because the quote has been met, it's probably going to be a couple days before you receive the computer. So try again later tonight, try tomorrow morning, try tomorrow afternoon. I'm sure you'll get those drivers before you'll get the computer in the mail. And then once you have them, put them somewhere where you'll find them. And you're good to go for the life of the machine. That's my advice. But if you're part of our community and you know you can use Uncle Kerry's Windows 11 optimizer, obviously that makes up a little teeny tiny fraction of the pop, super teeny tiny number of folks we have that watch our videos compared to the number of people that would benefit from watching our videos. It's, millions versus hundreds or maybe thousands. Millions of people could use this info, but will never see it and know it until they need to, and it's too late. But for the few of you that watch my videos, the hundreds or maybe the thousands of views, you're ahead of that because you have knowledge they don't have. Andy says, in my little town, there's a community billboard at a little country grocery store, and businesses and individuals use it. Yeah, if they're small businesses, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be embarrassing, I think, if a big major corporation cheaped out and put a little business card up there. Maybe you're a local real estate agent. Maybe you're a car detailer. You work for yourself and you offer your services to the community. That's really what the billboard's for. You shouldn't see advertisements for GMK Tech. Somebody's putting a board on the community board. It doesn't belong there, at least in my opinion. Peter says he saw my pizza hack a few years ago. Yeah, we were talking about frozen. You can order pizzas from a website, not just pizza. You can order any famous foods in the United States, these famous restaurants. You can order them from a site called goldbelly.com and have them delivered to your door, in many cases overnight. And even some places in Canada too. So these would normally be like, hey, well, you're in New York, you should try this pizza place. Okay, but what if you're not going to New York? What if you want to try the pizza place? You just have to wait till you go to New York. Or there's a site called Goldbelly, and you can have that pizza delivered frozen to your front door, and then you can cook it at home. And it's exactly the same. It's not a knockoff. It is the same pizza. And there's a price, to pay for overnight shipping, but at the other hand, it's a lot more expensive for a plane ticket to fly to New York. So by comparison, it's a bargain. We have a famous pizza place out here in Phoenix called Bianco Pizzeria from Chris Bianco. And it was called the best pizza place in the United States. There's always a line to get in, very limited hours, no to-go seating. Everything is dine there. So there's some outdoor seats and a couple of seats in a small place. You got to park your car downtown. You got to pay for parking. Or you could go on Goldbelly, order a couple of pizzas from Phoenix to myself in Phoenix by clicking my mouse, and I don't have to go anywhere, pay for any parking or wait in any lines. They just show up in a couple days at my front door frozen. I put them in the oven, and they're exactly the same, but I don't have to worry about where am I going to eat it, can I take it to go, park my car. And then when you add up how much 4 pizzas would cost you with drinks and everything, plus a tip, you're actually saving money ordering it from Goldbelly versus just getting in the car and going over there. So even though it's not that far, you think about the logistics of getting a pizza out of New York and having it fly clear across the length of the United States to the opposite side overnight. That's pretty damn cool. If you ask me, I think it's pretty damn cool. So I'm going to try some pizzas from like Connecticut, Washington. But there's burgers and steaks from famous steakhouses and barbecue joints, and Philadelphia cheesesteak is available. Sold as a meal kit that you put together, all from like Pat's in Philadelphia, famous Pat's. I don't think Geno's does it, but Pat's does. And then, you think about these famous food places that are a staple of their community, which has always been, hey, the next time I'm there, we got to go eat there. But not with Goldbelly. You can have whatever you want, ship it right to your door from all 50 states, even Canada. So it's pretty damn cool. So my other channel, I'm just reviewing frozen pizzas. And I think most frozen pizzas score about a 5. Your Red Barons, your Tonys, your Bruschettas, DiGiorno's, Walmart special, a 5 out of 10. $5 pizza scores about a 5. I got some pizzas from the local Kroger grocery store. They're $1.25 each. 3-minute microwave pizza, $1.25. You can buy 4 of those for $5. You're not buying because it's delicious. You're buying because you only have $5 and you need to eat. You understand? Which, if it serves that purpose, it's a value. I can't go to Arby's and buy a medium Coke for under $2, but I can get a whole like personal pizza for $1.25, and they go, "Are you kidding me?" So I'll be choking one of those down later to review it. Pizza rolls are another one. These pizza rolls, they're a guilty pleasure. They're terrible. Sometimes I just get a craving for them, and they're terrible. But I think, how hard is it to make a pizza roll? You could buy some wonton wraps. You don't have to make any dough. Just buy the wonton wraps. Get a jar of sauce you like. Take a tablespoon of sauce, put it in there. They sell these little mozzarella pearls or balls. Get the smallest ones you can. Drop it on there. Take a pepperoni, and just a little tiny pepperoni, cut it in half twice so you have little quarters. Put it in there. And then fold that wonton over. You gotta, wet the edges. Maybe not lick your finger. Get a ramekin with water. Wet the edges, fold it over, put it in the air fryer or the oven until it browns. Put some oil on it so it doesn't get too dry. Some olive oil, avocado oil, or even some butter. And if you're gonna put butter on it, if you're gonna put anything wet on the outside, while it's wet, sprinkle on a little Parmesan cheese or basil or parsley. What the heck? Make it garlic butter. Then put it in the oven, and then tell me how that compares to those frozen pizza rolls you're buying. It really isn't any more expensive, and it doesn't really take that long. You're not making anything, you're just assembling it and putting it in the oven. It's not a big deal. So I've got this all in my head, but I've got to actually put it to practice and see if it's as easy as I think it is. Because they also sell the egg roll size wonton wraps. So if you want, you can even make a pretty good sized calzone, like a giant pizza roll, but you'll be using so much better ingredients, better sauce, better cheese, better ingredients, better pizza, not Papa John's. Some people, I think, they don't care. They just go, whatever's cheap, man. Just take it out of the box, throw it in the oven, who cares? That's great when you're drunk. That's great on a Friday or Saturday night. You've been partying all night with your friends and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Look at the drive-thru at Taco Bell or White Castle at 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday or Saturday. It wraps around the building. They know their audience. These aren't picky eaters. When Taco Bell used to have that little chihuahua, I never understood that. So the chihuahua thinks Taco Bell food is good. I never thought of any dog I've ever encountered in my life as being a fussy eater. Hey, if the dog likes it, it must be good. Said no one. And yet Taco Bell went with this advertising campaign forever. And I'm like, what is the message they're sending? If it's good enough for the chihuahua, then you know it's good enough for you. So people want to buy cheap, fast, convenient. I want what's good. And if it can be cheap, fast, convenient, and also be good, wouldn't you want to know? If I'm walking through the grocery store frozen food aisle, and all the pizzas are roughly around the same price, but one of them tastes better than all the other ones, why would I buy the other ones? And if you know of that pizza, would you tell me? Because I'm looking. We found a few good ones, actually, but I bet you there's more out there we haven't discovered yet. Sometimes people like something from nostalgia. They go, oh yeah, this Red Baron pizza is just terrible, but it just reminds me of my childhood. That's fair enough. John Lewis says, I'm making him hungry. I'm making me hungry too, John. I think I know what I'm going to be doing after the show tonight. We went to Whole Foods because, and Whole Foods is clear across town from us. They sell some frozen pizzas there that you can buy off Goldbelly. Like Table 87 is a famous New York pizza place that also sells their pizzas frozen in Whole Foods. And they're only $10 at Whole Foods. Of course, the pizza's only this big, but regardless, $10 is a great deal. You can even buy just a frozen slice for $6. So I bought one of each. And then they had a couple other frozen pizzas that aren't sold anywhere else other than Goldbelly or going to the restaurant. That's it. Target department stores are also selling like DeFara frozen pizzas, which is DeFara is a famous pizza place in New York City. And you can't get them anywhere else other than Goldbelly or going to DeFara. And it just so happens Target carries them. Target is also carrying Katie's. Katie's is an Italian restaurant in St. Louis, Missouri that is selling their product on their website to be frozen and shipped to you, or at Target grocery stores. And the Target grocery stores is cheaper and more convenient. In Arizona, when it's 110 degrees and I'm having a product shipped in ice, you better bring it indoors right away, because it's going to thaw real quick. It shouldn't ruin, even if the food arrives completely thawed and the ice is completely quick. It shouldn't ruin, even if the food arrives completely thawed and the ice is completely melted. So long as you get it in the freezer right away, it'll probably be okay. Or immediately put it in the oven. But that does make me a little nervous living in the desert, ordering anything that's perishable. Because the trucks they deliver in, those trucks, generally they're not air conditioned. So who knows how long that box has been in the heat. That's why that overnight shipping is so important from Gold Belly. Or if I go to Target or I go to Whole Foods and I can get it right out of their freezer section, put it in the car and take it home, it's not a problem. Okay, any other questions for me about the GMK Tech or anything else? This will be the time to ask. If you missed the live video and you want to ask a question, please do so using our email address right here on the screen. We love hearing from you guys, so don't be shy. Reach out anytime, and we'll do our best to provide an answer. If you have technical questions about a device, again, I recommend you contact the manufacturer. Don't ask me. You can ask me, but I'm probably going to tell you the best I know. I could be wrong. If you're like, well, I'm thinking about buying this, but does the BIOS support whatever? I'm not going to take it back out of the box and hook it up and check that for you. It's too much. But if you reach out to their sales or support email and ask them, then you're doing two things. One, you're checking to see how responsive they are. Because let's face it, if they don't answer your question, if I were you, I wouldn't buy any products from that company. I guarantee you, if you email Nemo, if you email Minis Forum, just two off the top of my head that I know from experience, and you say, I have some questions about the product before I purchase it, they love that. They love it. They get right back to you. Yes, yes, yes. What can we do for you? What do you want to know? Other companies, they just ignore you. And I don't know which way GMK Tech is. But if they're going to ignore you, if it were me, it wouldn't matter what the content creator says. Because if you buy it, if you say, well, GMK Tech's not getting back to me, so I thought I'd ask you, Carrie, and I provide you the answer, and that matches what you need, so you order it, and then you have a problem, and you email support and you get no response, you're going to have some buyer's remorse, I'll bet. So you can avoid that whole scenario from ever occurring by simply measuring the water by reaching out to them before you purchase and seeing if they get back to you and how long it takes. How good is their answer? Did they answer it? Based on that, you should then determine if you want to give them your business or look at another manufacturer. That's what I would do if I were you. I don't see anything else here. Andy says, thank you, Carrie and Mara, for another Mini Palooza live stream. You got it, Andy. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we've got more Mini PC reviews. Friday, we've got Mini PC reviews. Sunday, we've got one. And next Friday after this one, we've got one. And that's about it for right now. And then we'll start doing more of the follow-ups. I still have part twos to do on several minis. Once the part twos are done, then I'll start listing them to sell them, because we'll use those funds to buy more minis. Right now, there isn't really any I'm aware of to buy. If you're aware of a mini PC of around a $500 price point with RAM and storage already in it, please email a link to us. Because, and preferably on Amazon. That's how we ended up with like the A-Dreamer and a few others. We didn't know anything about them. And I go on Amazon constantly scouring, looking for something that we can review. I'm just seeing a lot of the same old stuff over and over and over again. Somehow, I never saw the A-Dreamer until you guys brought it to my attention. So if you see anything on sale, or something you think would fit into that $500 or less criteria on Amazon that we can use our gift card money for, We're looking for the content. Frankie says, what about AOO Star? Did they get back to you? They got back to me, and they got back to me quickly and very helpful. They were very, very good. So we had one of the AOO Stars was a bare bones where we had to put our own storage in it. Actually, I think the RAM was soldered in, but we just had to put storage. And when we installed Windows 11, it said there's no product key. The other AOO Star, we put storage in and installed. The product key was already in and activated. In this case, it didn't auto-activate, and there was no key. So I emailed AOO Star, and within hours, I got a response. And they said, yeah, that's normal. We tell our customers, if you need a product key for any of our products, just email us and we'll provide it. Now, in most cases, they'll ask for a copy of your receipt, but since they saw my video, they didn't need the receipt. They knew I was honest and I wasn't just trying to scam them out of a free product key. And yeah, within hours, they sent me the product key. I copied and pasted it. It activated instantly. Piece of cake. AOO Star support is fantastic. I didn't think it would be, but I was wrong. They're really, really good. And they have some of the best values in mini PCs on Amazon right now. So if I had a choice between GMK Tech and AOO Star, I would pick AOO Star. But if I had a choice of Minisforum, I'd take Minisforum above them. So it all depends on what the product is, what it's providing, at what price point. But I put Minisforum at the top. Andy said when he reached out to Nemo for support, they got back to him even after their regular hours. Nemo is fantastic, fantastic support. And they're another one. They're like, hey, did your product come with Windows 11 Home and you wanted Pro? All you got to do is ask us. We'll give you the key. And they don't ghost you, they don't ignore you, and they don't come up with excuses, and they don't make you wait days for an answer. So I would put Nemo up there with AOO Star. Minisforum is also very good. GMK Tech I've not tried, I don't know. Paladin, Wowie, Bosgame, Ace Magic, Camrui. When I look on the forums, Ace Magic, Napogi, Camrui, they're all the same company. And they have a website called Mini PC Union for their support. And they have some of the dumbest customer. And I think what it is it's attracting these people that want to spend the least amount of money possible, don't understand what they're buying. So I was recently, I'll look on there, and if there's questions I can answer. I mean, I really shouldn't be doing any support for Ace Magic or Camrui for free, but I enjoy helping people. And somebody said, I'm looking for a feature in a BIOS. How come it's not there? When can I expect it? Now, I can't speak on behalf of Ace Magic or Camrui officially, but how thick are you? You bought the cheapest laptop on the market, and you're asking if it has a BIOS feature that is typical in a more expensive laptop. And this will give you an idea of the kind of mentality these shoppers have, the kind of buyer that they're attracting. I said, for example, name another laptop that has the BIOS feature you want, that's equivalent in all of the specifications, but sells for the same price or less. So they listed 8 different laptops. And I said, yes, those 8 laptops do have the BIOS feature you want. But how much are they? You did not list their prices. I specifically asked you, my original question to this customer of Ace Magic or Camrui was, name an equivalent laptop of similar specs or better that sells for the same price or less that has this BIOS feature that you say other laptops have. Rolls-Royces have umbrellas in the doors of the car. If it's raining, the umbrella is built right into the door. Why doesn't my Hyundai have that? Probably because there's a price difference between those two cars. And this person can't get it through their head. You're not going to get those BIOS features on the cheapest thing you could buy. Why would you think that? If that was important to you, you should have figured that out before you made the purchase, or figured it out within a 30-day return period. Beggars can't be choosers. You can't buy the cheapest thing. You can't go to McDonald's and say, oh, the steakhouse tastes better. The steakhouse costs more money. Of course it tastes better. Pick a lane. But because Ace Magic and Camrui appeal to that type of client base, you'll see the forum just filled with just complete disillusionment. They think everything's the same and all that's different is the price. And you try and tell them and they don't listen. You're like, what part of you bought it for cheap? You try and tell them and they don't listen. You're like, what part of you bought it for cheap so you didn't get all those features are you not understanding? And they just won't accept it. And that's my thank you I get for trying to help. Just try to be reasonable. You bought something as cheap as you could buy it. And now you're asking for a feature that you're accustomed to on more expensive laptops as though it's expected, when you're the only one expecting that, man. But if you're going to go into that business and you're going to appeal to that audience, if that's who your customer base is you're going after, that's where your support calls go through the roof. And that's why pretty much support calls get ignored, because they're so flooded with nonsense, they just shut it down. You just ignore them. You just ignore them. Or in Ace Magic's case, you just create a website and let the public help you. You just ignore them. Or in Ace Magic's case, you just create a website and let the public help each other. It's like one of those restaurants where you have to cook your own food. Here's your food, you cook it. You like it raw, you like it well done, you like it crispy, have at it. What do they call those restaurants? Shoot, what is that called? They'll do that with like fondues or steam pots, things where they bring you the food and you steam it yourself. It cracks me up. I could have done that at home. Edward Bass says, Bar Carey, I always learned something. Now I'm going to go get a pizza. Nice. Enjoy your pizza. Thanks for hanging out with us today, Edward. And I want to hear back from the WD180K there. I want to know how that Lombardi's is. Because if you don't want them, I'll take them. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's a pretty good show that everything worked out much better today once we had our drivers. And it just shows you that we don't have to have the drivers. We can get them ourselves if we have to. But it's so much faster, it's so much more efficient if we can just download the drivers from the manufacturer's website. We can support ourselves, get ourselves back up and running. We don't have to ask anybody for any help if the tools are available for us to grab to self-service. I like that option. And if you're wondering, how important is it? Well, for somebody like me that's working on all these different computers from clients, I never know what's coming in from day to day, what the next service call is going to be. I like to be able to get the client serviced as quickly as possible so I get paid sooner, I can help the next person sooner, and the customer gets their stuff back sooner so they get back to work. Everybody's happy. And if I can't grab the drivers, it's going to take me longer to figure it out. I'll still get there. But as you compare part 1 to part 2 of this series, of this GMK Tech M2 Pro S, watch how long it took me to do what I just did in minutes. So if that's not important to you, then that's fine. But for me, obviously it's important. And you should know before you make the purchase. You shouldn't find this out after the fact. And I hope if you find out after the fact or within your 30-day return period if it's not acceptable to you. So preferably you find out it's not acceptable to you before you make the purchase. I don't want to send anything back. Even food. If a restaurant brings me food and I don't like it, I'll probably just not go to the restaurant anymore. But I'll also check Yelp reviews, and if everybody's complaining about the restaurant, I probably won't even go there to begin with. See what I'm getting at? But if you're in a mood and you're just like, let's go try it and roll the dice, I'm not telling you not to. It's just not my thing. I'm not real good at rolling dice. Not in my favor. So If I was better at it, my attitude would probably be different. If there's a game I play and I don't play it well, I probably don't want to play that game. You know what I mean? There are video games I was never good at, like Cubert. It's not fun to play. I'm not good at it. I've accepted that and moved on. I'm good at Galaga. Andy says, the video freezing. It does look like we're having some connection problems, which I'd say is a good sign for us to wrap it up. I'm seeing the connection kind of wavering right now. We've had a good solid connection right up until now. So we'll take that as a hint. So no, it's not just you. And it's not us. It's something to do with YouTube or our ISP. And yeah, you're probably seeing some real bad video, but you should be hearing me okay. What is the second channel? Just look for Frozen Pizza Reviews. You can't miss it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll look forward to seeing you all back here on Friday, 1 o'clock, our usual start time, with another new unboxing and review of a mini PC. I'm not sure which one yet. I've got 3 to pick from. One of those 3. And then on Sunday, I'll have 2 to pick from. It'll be one of those 2. That's our plan. And then follow up with some part 2s going forward. And we hope you'll join us then. Thank you to Mara, of course, for all the work she does in the background, doing our thumbnail and our video descriptions. Thanks to our friends at VIP URCD Keys for continuing to support us here and to support you guys with legitimate supported license keys that aren't going to rip you off. Also, a shout out to our friends who have contributed, Paul Vercher, Buster, and especially today, Frankie B, very generous. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. And all of our friends in green, the members who are paying monthly memberships. That's what keeps this ship afloat. Without any corporate sponsors, we're sort of relying on our audience to keep us around, and you guys are doing it. And I can't thank you enough for it. So with that, that'll wrap it up. In the meantime, we are looking for some kind of a good sponsorship opportunity, but the economy is just not bad for the consumers, it's bad for the companies. So a lot of sponsorship money, it just isn't there right now, assuming we'd even take it to begin with. If it's tight for the consumers, that means they're not selling much, and that means they don't have as much budget for sponsorships. So it's tough for everyone, but when we support each other and we got each other's backs, we're not going anywhere. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. And everybody else, the folks who aren't in green, we appreciate having you here, joining our community, hanging out with us, talking to us. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we hope you'll return as well. Peter says bye for now. I haven't gotten there yet. All right, guys. Thanks again for watching. We'll see y'all on Friday. Until then, what Peter said there. Bye for now.
25 jaar geleden leerde ik ze kennen in de cafés van Amsterdam-Oost. Mijn foute vrienden. Verbrande Herman, Rode Jos, Dikke Bob en Jantje van Amsterdam.
Nou, moet ik hem nou slaan? Ik kan hem toch niet slaan nou? Maar je kan hem toch door een kennis laten zien.
Ik was een katholieke ex-student uit Beverwijk. Zij waren gepokt en gemazeld in het criminele circuit van Amsterdam-Oost.
Ach ja, ik heb mijn werk, verdien mijn geld, dat is mijn leven. Het stelen, ach ja, daarom ben ik Jantje. Maar ik voel me eenzaam.
Ik wilde een film over hem maken. Voor mij waren ze het oude Amsterdam. Mensen met een eigen moraal. Ik wilde die begrijpen en vastleggen.
Ik ga weg hoor, ik ga nou stoppen. Ja, ik heb het zo koud als de kanker, man.
En nu is het 25 jaar later. Ik ben ze al die tijd blijven filmen.
Dan loop ik naar de auto.
Ze zijn een onderdeel van mijn leven geworden. En ik van hun leven.
Hé hey Roy, ga nou lekker weg met die kankercamera. Ik word er nou een beetje moe van. Oké? Boeven, doei.
Eén shotje nog.
Eén shotje en dan wegwijzen. Doei.
Het is tijd om de balans op te maken. Wat heeft het leven hen gebracht?
Hoe is je verwachting? Wat is de rol in deze kringloop? Hoe zat het met de bus? België, Hal, Groningen, Vlucht, Limburg, Dordrecht, Rotterdam, camping, Heerlen, seks, wiet, kringloop. Zo. Nou, en daar wil je dan allemaal wat vragen over stellen. Ik vind het vrij intiem.
Ik vind het ongemakkelijke vragen. Nou, kat. Ben weggelopen zonder wat te zeggen. Het is over en voorbij. De deur viel in het slot en schreeuwde iets van op, maar op wat ben ik blij. Laat het nu maar overgaan, het is voor de zoveelste keer. Ik heb zoveel aan je gegeven, ik kan er echt niet meer. Zo de liefde, nou maar op.
Ja, Hendrik Willem, hoe kan het nou dat het virus zo hard heeft toegeslagen in die verpleeghuizen?
Ja, je zou toch wel kunnen spreken over een stille ramp die zich voltrokken heeft. Want dit zijn de cijfers van 1 april. Het is nu 7 april, dus die cijfers liggen waarschijnlijk nog hoger. Het gaat om kwetsbare ouderen. Het gaat om mensen die heel veel zorg nodig hebben. Wassen, aankleden, dat doe je niet makkelijk door afstand te houden.
Lijkt me helemaal niks aan om dood te zijn.
Verpleeghuizen ook.
Lijkt me echt ongezellig.
De beschermingsmiddelen.
Ik wist niet dat ik zo in het leven hechtte. Dat komt door die coronatering, zo komt het nou wel dichterbij. Maar ik wil er nog wel een paar dagen blijven. Maar ja, voorlopig ben ik bijna 70. Ik had altijd gedacht dat ik een jaar of 50 zou worden, dus ik ben al 20 jaar extra gekregen. En dat het niet altijd even leuk is, dat is een tweede. Maar ik kan nog wel genieten van mijn wandelingetje in het bos en van de vogeltjes die fluiten.
Zeer kwetsbare mensen.
En alleen al om bepaalde mensen te treiten, blijf ik leven gewoon.
IC, ziekenhuizen, en daar wordt natuurlijk ook heel hard gewerkt en daar worden heel veel...
Matthijs, Matthijs, kom nou. Kom nou. Kom nou, ga je mee? Kom op. Matthijs, kom eens hier. Nou heb je 7 minuten, kom eens hier. Kom hier. Daar hebben we jaren over gedaan, over het africhten, hè. Kom hier. Even wachten, hè. Even wachten, hè. Even wachten. Ik denk dat je crimineel bent zodra de politie je pakt en een paar dagen in het hok vast mag houden. Ik ben nooit geen crimineel van oude vrouwtjes en tasjes afpakken. Kleine kindertjes zoals in Hepen, daar heb ik ook nooit iets mee van doen gehad. Daar heb ik nooit voor gezeten. Ook nooit geen televisie gepikt uit een huis. Niks met harddrugs. Dus crimineel. Maar ik kom weer in het circuit en dat wil ik niet. Ik kan niet tegen de gevangenis. Ik wil zeker de gevangenis niet meer in. Ik heb zoveel mazzel. Dat als ik weer crimineel word, dan gaat de organisatie wordt opgerold die al 20 jaar draait. Weet je, ik heb 1 keer hash gelost en... mis. Weet je, ja. Ik kan ook geen sekkies uitschrijven. Hoe zag die man eruit? Ja, geribbelde handjes. En, toch? Hij die verbranden is weer aan het schrijven. Dus dat gaat allemaal niet.
Sta je dan op? Mooi zo.
Ik kom nog wel in Amsterdam. En dan ga ik af en toe eens even naar mijn oude stamkroeg. En dan kom ik weer een hele hoop oude bekenden tegen. Maar het is, ik ben altijd blij dat ik weer weg ben. Ik wil nooit meer terug naar Amsterdam. Dievenstad is dat geworden.
Ja man, even een plekje zoeken.
Sinds na corona? Nou ja, een jaar. Niet op, nou, zoals iedereen. Ja, we repeteren af en toe, maar... Geen perspectief, hè?
Hier ook.
En nu schrijf ik hele mooie liedjes. Nou.
Jos, vind je dit leuk?
Ja, kom maar. Prima. Kan niet zo donker zijn. Ja, die moet erin, ja.
Ja, daarom.
Als je hem doorspeelt, dan lijkt het te veel, weet je.
Ja, ik vind het idee wel goed. Het is moeilijk wanneer stoppen nou.
Kan niet zo donker zijn. Het wordt wel een keertje licht. Je hebt nu een crisis. Het einde is nog niet in zicht. Dus hou je maar wat afstand. Al ben je liefst dicht bij elkaar. En ben je soms alleen. Ik sla zo graag een arm om je heen. Ik ben natuurlijk weggegaan, weggewaaid. Ging met muzikanten om. En die jongens die liegen niet bijvoorbeeld, of bedriegen niet. Ik zei heel... daar moest ik aan wennen, hè. Daar moest ik echt aan wennen. Half Oost was gewoon niet te vertrouwen. Iedereen piepelde elkaar. Handel, piepelen. Ja. Het komt goed, geloof me maar. Alleen anders dan voorheen. Pak bijvoorbeeld de uitspraak van Rod Stewart en Brian Adams. Die zeiden al van nou, als ik niet was geslaagd in de muziek, was ik crimineel geworden. Nou, dat kan ik wel aanvoelen, ja. Nou. Nee, dat is zo. Maar ik probeer toch in de muziek toch door te zetten. Mijn nieuwe motor gaat lekker hard. Jammer genoeg is het een beetje geflopt. Maar als het gelukt was, dan had je dus de financiële vrijheid gehad om creatief bezig te zijn.
Ja, wat interessant voor ons is natuurlijk wat je nu aan het doen bent. Snap je wat ik bedoel?
Nou, ik zit in de fraude en de vrouwen. Fraude en vrouwen. Het is weer gelukt, hoor.
Is ja.
Niet te geloven.
Een best mooie vrouw, die kost geld.
Ja, dan schrijf je gewoon een check uit.
Ja, tot iets kaart. Staat wel niks op, ja. 7 van de 10 accepteren ze niet, maar 3 wel dus. Ja.
Wat zijn legale criminelen en wat zijn illegale criminelen? Dat vond ik wel een mooie uitdrukking.
Ja, nou, probeer het. Illegale criminelen. Dat zijn grote mensen die van waar er ook komen, maakt me niet uit. Hier misbruik maken van alle situaties. Hè? Dus dat noem ik illegale criminelen. Die het een beetje verpesten voor de legale criminelen. Ja, bullshit, maar... Nee, maar...
Oh, vind ik gek. Meest. Nou, ik was heel sterk en ik was ook heel flink. Ik had een parade, jongen. Ik leek Schwarzenegger wel vroeger.
Nou, dat komt alleen maar door het zware werk wat ik altijd gedaan heb in mijn hele fucking kankerleven. En nu ben je ouder, ben je 63 geworden 2 weken geleden. En dan denk ik, nou, ben je weer alles kwijt. Waar heb ik dit eigenlijk aan verdiend? Heb je dan geen normaal wijf in de wereld die echt normaal kan doen en een normale kerel wil hebben? Die bestaan zeker niet.
Morgen vroeg goud in de mond. Zie je lekker, ja. 7 uur begin ik, maar ben ik om 7:30 daar. Dan ben ik om 8 uur, 10 over. Er is geen baas die over mij kan beslissen. Ik ben eigen baas. Oké, doe het.
Het is geen makkelijk leven geweest wat ik allemaal heb gedaan. Ik krijg het niet voor niks. Je moet toch elke morgen om 6 uur met je kut moet je nest uit om te werken, om te overleven.
Zal ik jou zien peperen?
Nee.
Waarom niet? Ik doe het niet. Ik hoef niet bang te zijn, ik doe het niet.
Zag eruit.
Kutwijf.
Die nou in de overgang.
Elke morgen in die sloperij, in de sneeuw en in de kou en in de regen. Al had ik maar een maaien per dag, maar ik ging wel. Ik heb me eigenlijk altijd zelf overwonnen.
Ruikt hij weer lekker in? Lekker is een stikkie, hè? 's morgens vroeg.
Dus kun je nagaan, was ik 19. Nu woonde ik alleen en ik was zo gek als een deur. Ja, en een draaideur, hoor. En ik zat niet in de draaideurcriminaliteit, maar een hele grote criminaliteiten. Als je 25 bent en je hebt 30 ruggen thuis liggen in één keer, je weet niet waar het vandaan komt. Dat was een hoop geld vroeger, hoor. En dan zeg je, wijf, hoe kom je daar nou aan? Dan zeg ik, waarom moet je dat vragen? En 's morgens was ik gewoon weer in werk om 5 uur.
Ik had een woning gekraakt met Kitty, mijn vriendin toen. En Jantje had beneden mij een woning gekraakt met Trudy, met zijn eerste vrouw. Maar zo heb ik Jantje leren kennen.
Is het goed? Alles goed.
Je komt elkaar tegen, je leert elkaar kennen. Dat kun je niet regelen of zo. Dat is een soort liefde ook, hè, onder elkaar, weet je wel.
We lijken wel 2 nichten. Niet vet, hè? Dit is ook een van mijn vriendjes. Kijk, zij ook.
Jos was muzikant. Die was meer met spelen bezig dan andere dingen. Alleen als hij wat kon verdienen, was hij erbij. Anders niet, hoor. Nee, kijk uit, hij moet zijn handen breken.
Hé, maar dan, hoe laat ben je klaar?
Zo, als er geld is.
Heb je geld van je nog wat weg? Moet ik mij helpen, jongens?
Nou, laten wij dat even vasthouden.
Je bent er niet gemotiveerd voor?
Ja, dat is toch niet werkbaarden. Ja, maar zeg maar.
Ik heb heel, gewoon zo, Jan, haal vast het ding.
Ik heb een brief voor mijn moeder. Ja, die hoog in de hemel is. Deze brief vind ik vast aan mijn vliegen.
Ik vond het allemaal zo spannend ook allemaal. En toen ben ik ook een beetje in meegegaan, natuurlijk. Had je Café Post hier op het Krugelplein en zo. En dat was het verbrande helemaal. Toen Bobby... dan werd gepokerd om 1 uur 's middags, weet je wel. Werd dan gepokerd en dan zei je... Rooie, haal je gitaar even. Up.
Ik heb hier een brief voor mijn moeder. Die hoog in de hemel is. Als je veel geld hebt, heb je ook veel problemen. Zo moet je het leven bekijken. Maar als je geen geld hebt, heb je ook wel problemen, maar minder.
Dan kun je eigenlijk gewoon redden, weet je. En kun je op vakantie gaan wanneer je wil. En...
Maar als je geen geld hebt,
Nee, hoe ben je als je geen geld hebt op vakantie gaan?
Je hebt toch wel een beetje werk, je kloot en je rommel en je handel en of niet?
Hetzelfde saus, de rijklassering, die hele penauwsalat met zakken. Alles is afgewezen. Je moet alles betalen gewoon.
Bobby leerde ik kennen, Oosterparkstraat, ook bij Dijk, Café Dijk. De dikke Bob. Kon heel goed biljarten, 3 banden stoten. Ja. Kon heel goed pokeren. Hij is in de kroeg geboren, hè. Hij is achter de bar geboren. Ik bedoel,
Ja, nee, we zijn 3 wonen. Dat is Carbon.
Ik ben geboren in de Eerste Oosterparkstraat, achter de bar, bij wijze van spreken.
Mijn opa en oma die hebben me grootgebracht. Omdat mijn moeder heel ziek was vroeger. En die is godzijdank genezen. Toen de tijd. Toen had mijn moeder het weer over. Ik heb zo'n goede band met mijn moeder.
Bobby kon bijvoorbeeld niet een flesje bier drinken. Of een glaasje bier. Als Bobby moest door tot het bittere gaatje. Hij zei, ik kan het gewoon niet, weet je. Hij kan niet gewoon 1 of 2 biertjes drinken. Hij moest een kratje leeg drinken gewoon. Helemaal dat.
Moeten jullie een slokje van me? Moeten jullie een slokje van me? Nou, moet je even komen halen. Ik heb alleen 1,5 liters.
Als je die 1,5 liter fles bier aan zijn keel zette, was het... Op was het... Had jij net een slokje genomen van je fles? Die was al leeg. Pakte er alweer een ander. Hij had een autozaak, een showroom, tegenover de Tropenmuseum. Daar had hij een autozaak met die oude mobiele auto's. En er stonden 2 benzinepompen buiten vroeger.
Hij is 2 keer miljonair geweest. Ik bedoel maar zo. Ja, waar laat je het, hè? Hoe maak je het op, hè? Alles hebben gehad, alles ook verbrast.
Ik heb veel geld gehad, ja. Maar ja, gat is een lelijk woord, hè? Toch?
Hoe bedoel je een lelijk woord?
Nou, wat je gehad hebt en wat je niet meer hebt, dat is toch... dat is toch niet meer relevant, hè? Weg is weg. Op is op. We moeten nou gewoon weer opnieuw beginnen, Roy.
De tijd toen je uit de baas kwam. Hoe ging dat?
Ja, hoe ging dat? Je wordt ontslagen in Ajuperplu.
Maar waarom kwam je in de gevangenis terecht?
Ja, omdat ik me eigenlijk niet goed gedragen heb, natuurlijk.
Maar wat precies?
Ja, maar Roy, en kijk, daar ga je weer. Daar stoot ik te veel mensen voor de voeten.
Maar je kan toch in algemene termen praten?
Nee.
Een bank beroofd, ik bedoel, dat is toch bekend?
Nee, ik heb geen bank beroofd. Ik een bank beroven? Man, stront loopt mijn broek uit. Mafkeitel, ik zal een bank gaan beroven. Ben jij nou wel lekker? Alles kon, alles lukte. Ik was eigen baas. Ik had elke week tussen de 30 en de 50 rug inkomen. Netto. Hé, wauw, wat heb ik verkeerde dingen gedaan, man. Hé, echt hoor. Ja, ze zeggen wel eens van bruik om naar de zonde, maar het is gewoon waar.
Drie maanden geleden. Ja, ben ik uitgegaan en zo. En ik had dit allemaal nieuwe spulletjes gehuurd en gekocht en aangeschaft. Een nieuwe gitaar, versterker, tv, video, noem maar op. En ik heb een aantal mensen bij een huis genomen, een feestje gevierd. En nou, ik zal verder geen namen noemen, maar ik word dus morgens wakker. Mijn hele spulletjes weg, zeg. Dus we zijn op oorlogspad geweest. Met mijn eigen vriendjes. Maar ja, ze zijn niet meer te vinden. Maar er waren een aantal dingen die had ik gehuurd. Nou, ik kreeg gisteren een telefoontje van het politiebureau tot de verduistering tegen mij werd ingediend. Hè? En toen wilden ze me arresteren. En ik zeg, ik kom zelf wel.
Met donkere glaaskleur. Ja, zeg maar zoals ik. Of lichter.
Ja, iets mooier, iets knapper.
Ja, dat kan nee, maar wie de...
Lang kroeshaar, naar achteren zo. Met een, weet ik nog goed, een blauw knootje erin. Dat vergeet ik niet meer. Maar het is inmiddels. Zoiets, hè? Nou, nee.
Dit waren ze. Kijk, als de persoon er gewoon niet bij zit, dan zit hij er niet bij.
Nee, maar vertel eens precies hoe het gebeurd is.
Nou, dat was hier. Nee, wel. Die nacht, ja.
Heb je niet toevallig verzonnen?
Nee. Nee, dat steekt te goed in elkaar om te verzinnen.
Nee, vriend.
Blij dat je er bent.
Ja.
Heb je geld?
Ik wou net zeggen,
Nee,
ik ben dicht, het is Goede Vrijdag.
Ik ben bestolen.
Wat heb je? Je bent bestolen. Ze hebben weer wat. Ze hebben weer wat. Nog even een kennisje, ballenbroos.
Ja, dat zeg ik al. Dat zeg ik al, maar weer, alweer.
Ja.
Herman was toen de tijd van ons een soort goeroe. Die stond weer een etage hoger, weet je wel. Hier lopen ook altijd mensen aan de baantjes. Je kon altijd bij Herman terecht als je een meisje nodig had of een roosje. Wel terugbetalen. Ja.
Toen ik uit de gevangenis kwam, ben ik cityclean begonnen.
En hoe lang heb je toen gezeten?
29 dagen. 2630 kilo gas. En 5 pistolen. Vernachtte tyfus. Toen ben ik voor de Casarosso gaan werken. Moest ik 6 dagen in de week het vuil ophalen. Op de ballen. Alleen over de ballen rijden en de zakjes van de gracht afpakken. Nou, toen kreeg ik binnen een maand een stuk of 10 klanten erbij. Die ik allemaal het vuil weghaalde voor een tientje per week of 35 euro of guldens per week. En toen had ik binnen, nou, niet overdrijven, dan binnen een half jaar had ik 300 klanten. En ik was de eerste in Nederland die op 7 dagen in de week het vuil weghaalde.
Dan zetten we die tafel tegen de vrachtwagen op. En dan stonden we zo op dat dingetje. Zocht je je vuil uit, je flesjes eruit, je blikjes eruit, je groente, fruit en tuinafval eruit. En dan schoven we de rest met trekkers zo de vullersauto in. Maar dat mocht niet. Toen kregen we de politie bij ons en dat mocht niet. Dat was verboden. Daar hadden we geen vergunning voor, we mochten dat niet uitzoeken. En toen kregen we dit. Hier mochten we het wel. Ja.
Ik had 300 klanten van de Tikova, had ik in de tussentijd overgenomen. Werd ik uitgenodigd op kantoor bij Tikova of ik eens langs wil komen voor een gesprekje. En ik denk, die willen wat samen doen of zo, hè. En toen kwam ik daar in een heel groot kantoor. En er zaten 2 van die mannetjes van een jaartje of 35. 2 van die juppen. En het gesprek begon zo, we kunnen het kort houden. Wij moeten elkaar niet in de weg gaan lopen. Ik zeg, hoe bedoelt u? Ja, hij zegt, het is voor ons geen probleem om even 2 autootjes door de binnenstad van Amsterdam gratis het schuil weg te laten halen. Dan hou jij dat niet lang vol. Ik zeg, nee, dat klopt. Ik zeg, maar als ik vanavond bij jou over het hek heen klim met 2 jerrycans benzine en ik steek al je auto's in brand, kun je morgen geen één vuil, zou ik me ophalen, toch? Dus laten we elkaar niet in de weg gaan lopen, gek.
Ik zeg meestal nog dingen voor ik het kan bedenken. Dat is heel erg, dat je geen controle over je bekken. En dan, ja, je hoort daar niet in thuis. En wat ze dus nooit verwacht hadden, is dat die rare strontvlieg gewoon opeens een bedrijf werd. Met honderden klanten. Dat hadden ze nooit verwacht. Dit was mijn kantoor. Hier zat ik. Wat het misgegaan is de storttarieven. Dat je dus 225 gulden voor 1000 kilo vuil moet betalen. En andere bedrijven, BFI, Kova en een of ander kartel is dat, geloof ik, die betalen slechts 105 gulden. Failliet ben ik. Ja.
Want dat ik vroeger in de haven werkte, kwamen er bij ons vaten olie binnen uit China. Ja, en s'nachts ben ik toevallig aan het werk. En Ik rij zo'n vat om. Die valt.
Expres.
Ja, tuurlijk heb ik dat expres gedaan. En er zit een witte stip onderop op het vat. Dus het vat haalde ik leeg. Met een blok hout. En toen kwam ik een blik tegen. Met 6 kilo kook erin. En toen heb ik het verkocht aan Hells Angels. Bij de Zeedaak daar ook. Ik denk dat ik 60, 70 roodjes had ik. Voor 6 pakken.
Gaf je alles zelf mijn kleding. Maar een vriend die laat je niet staan. Dus ik de tekst kwijt.
En hij komt zo lang niet wonen.
Maar daarvan heb ik nu spijt. Hielp ik je daarom uit de goot.
Kroegleven en werken, dat was mijn motto. Ja, ik moest mijn handel kwijt en die kon ik ook alleen maar kwijt in de kroeg. Dus als ik die handel had, dan ging ik naar de kroeg en dan had ik het en dan werd het opgehaald en klaar. Dus ik kon niet eerder thuis zijn. Want die gasten waren heel langzaam met betalen. Ja, maar vroeger was er geld. Er was heel veel geld vroeger. En dan kreeg je ook cash.
Is het heel rijp? Ja. En de bieren
Dan koop je hem toch? Dan kost die 500, dan kost die een rug. Ik had maar 200 hoor, meer had ik niet hoor.
Ze leefde gewoon een schot in Frankrijk. Nou, dat vond ik helemaal niet erg. Je bent mijn vrouw. Dan mag je dat. Als het er is, is het er. Is het er niet, houd het lekker op. Dan koop je volgende week maar die nieuwe jurk. Maar ze kregen het wel.
Het is voor een vrouw heel moeilijk om met mij samen te leven. Is het voor elke vrouw moeilijk. Want ik ben een hele moeilijke man. De karakter van mij is toch wel... ja. Mijn vrouw is alles. En ja, er mag niemand aankomen. Maar voor de rest, ja. De hele wereld is voor haar. Die aardbol, die til ik gewoon bovenop jou. En daar zit jij op, die is voor mij. Maar die andere vrouwen die ik heb gehad, die wisten het ook wel. Maar ze waren alleen zelf zo dom, denk ik.
Jantje, wil je iets vertellen over Trudy? Of?
Er valt niet veel te vertellen, denk ik. Het is gewoon, ik heb gewoon een fijn huwelijk gehad. Zover ik weet dus. Perfect. En ja, het is over. En jammer.
Heb je er veel verdriet over?
Vroeger wel. Was ik helemaal gek. Ik heb 1 keer zelfmoord willen plegen met een pistool. Ja, toen kwam een gabber binnen en die schoot de pistool allemaal. Toen schoot ik in de telefoon.
Maar dat gaat wel ver. Als je...
Nou, ik denk dat dat dingen zijn als je echt van een vrouw houdt. Dan ga je die dingen doen. Want als je niet van een vrouw houdt, doe je dat niet. Dan doe je het echt niet. Dat meen ik. Dat weet ik niet.
Als je bij de koffieshop was, dan was het altijd gezellig lachen en weet ik veel wat, stikje roken. Nou, dan denk ik, dan moeten we het werken morgen maar weer. Dat is ook te makkelijk geweest, dat stikje roken. Als ik geen stikjes had gerookt, had ik veel beter opgelet. Ik had nooit van die boot af moeten gaan. Nooit. Daar had ik niks geen last. Was ook de fijnste tijd in mijn leven, denk ik wel, de boot. Toen was ik een gelukkig jochie. Maar ja, het ging ook allemaal veel te hard.
Hier kom je dus binnen, hier ontmoet je elkaar een beetje. En hier hebben we dus een dansvloer. Waar dus de dames, als ze willen, op kunnen dansen. Er komt ook een paal. Dat vinden ze helemaal leuk, een paal. Waar ze aan kunnen slingeren.
Ik kwam al vanaf mijn 18e in paardenclubs. Dus ik heb mijn hele leven lang heb ik paardenclubs bezocht. En toen dacht ik van, dat kan veel beter.
Hier komt de sauna met een bubbelbadgedeelte. Niet zo groot, voor een mannetje of 6, 7. Hier komen dus amateurhoeren. Die dus voor heel weinig geld hun eigen laten gebruiken of misbruiken of hoe je dat noemt. Gewoon door dus de mannen, de vrijgezelle mannen die hier dus gewoon rondlopen. Die kunnen dus met hier van mij de kamer op. Voor weinig geld, dat kost dus niet zoveel als bij de normale, omdat ze dus amateurs zijn. Dan hebben we hier al de kamer. Dit is de donkere kamer. Hier staat dus het bed. En hier komt een wand met gaten waardoor je kan frummelen en voelen en dat je dus niet weet wie er aan je zit. Hebben we ook voor de mensen die er goed uitzien een lichte kamer. Ik denk dat dit voor de lelijke mensen is. Nou, hier gaan we dus 's avonds zitten. Dit wordt een heel dakterras met vliegennetten of muggennetten waar je dus gewoon geen last van de muggen hebt. En dan kun je s'avonds nog even een half uurtje uitwaaien. Ja, het is subliem. Het is ongelooflijk zo midden in Amsterdam dat je het vindt. Wat de buurman. En met die opening van die club had ik alle buren uitgenodigd. En al die buren had ik gefotografeerd. Ik denk als die later gaan klagen en je komt bij de rechter en je laat die foto's zien dat ze vrolijk in een onderbroekje aan het rondhuppelen zijn. En dat ze nou dan, omdat ze het of geestelijk niet aankonden of weet ik veel wat, of dat een vrouw het niet meer leuk vond, dan gingen ze klagen. Maar ja, ik had natuurlijk allemaal foto's waarop ze vrolijk in de rond aan het huppelen waren. Gewoon heel veel zelf doen. Paps, gooi de kraan even aan! Vriendinnetjes aan de naaimachine en we pakken zelf een pot verf. Nou, dan maar een druiper toch? Ik kan beter een druiper aan de muur zitten dan een klanten straks.
Dat is 45 centimeter en dan heb ik nog een stukje 35 hangen, weet je.
Ja, dat is veel te groot.
En niet met mijn zaken, weet je.
Nee, veel te groot, man.
Nee, kijk dit. Die zit in mijn kop, hoor.
Weet ik net makkelijk.
Echt wel. Ja, pas schat.
Ik zeg niet.
Nee, maar ik heb gewoon respect voor die man.
Ja.
6 uur staat hij op, 7 uur gaat hij beginnen, of half 5.
Weet je wat het leukste is? Kijk, ik ben 3 keer getrouwd geweest, 3 keer naar de klote geweest. En ik heb nu een vrouw getroffen en ik hou vreselijk veel van haar.
We laten Jantje met rust, omdat we weten dat hij gelukkig is met zijn meisje. Ja. En als wij Jantje gaan bellen, zegt Jantje, kom even naar ons toe, kom even naar mij, bakkie, stikkie.
En is de kankerzaai.
En dan is het een kankerzaai. En ja, nou, bij mij ook altijd thuis om die lopen.
Maar iedereen brengt hem naar de kloten.
Hermine, wij hebben ook geluk gekend. We hebben ook liefde gekend.
Jij hebt ook...
Dat wat
Heb jij niet genoeg gehad en je geluk en je hele teringzootje met je vrouw?
Ik heb liefde gehad.
Wie heeft het verkankerd dan?
Ik.
Jij.
Maar Rijk, zo is het toch?
Maar dat ontken ik niet.
Nee, maar ik ook niet.
Maar daarom
en jij ook niet.
Nee, maar daarom laat ik jou met rust.
Ja?
Omdat ik het jou wel...
Maar ik laat jou niet vallen en ik laat hem niet vallen, maar ik laat ook niemand vallen.
Dan moet ik Als ik jou bel is het niet goed.
Bobby heeft vaak genoeg
Want dan krijg je gewoon bonje. Klaar.
Ja. Oh, dus ik ben het.
Bobby heeft vaak genoeg. Het begon hiermee.
Puntje bij paaltje blijf ik eraan hangen.
Ik mag niks.
En dat is het probleem met de mannen. Jullie geven allemaal de schuld aan mij, maar ik ben er niet. Het is Jantje zelf.
Dat doe ik niet. Ik ben het zelf.
Het is Jantje zelf.
Ik ben een hele moeilijke jongen.
Als we direct naar huis toe gaan, jij gaat naar huis, Bobby gaat naar huis, Hul gaat naar huis. Maar ik heb direct thuis de problemen. Want ik heb het gedaan. Ja. Ja, wat zo is Jantje? Je kent Jantje toch niet? Je denkt dat Jantje kent, maar je kent hem niet, klojo.
Weet je wat het is?
Want hij begint thuis,
weet je wat nou het hele punt
maar hij
is?
begint wel thuis.
Maar je begrijpt me niet.
Nee, ik ben het
je laat me niet zoals ik wil, zoals ik ben.
Nee.
Jij wil altijd de dupe. Jij wil altijd de stempel wezen. Dat kanker lekker op. Wat wil je dan?
Dat is het.
Gaan we nu niet.
Nee, maar dat is het.
Hoe wil je leven? Hoe wil jij leven dan?
Wat wil jij dan?
Wil je miljoenen per dag hebben? Ga ik inbreken dag en nacht weer, dan krijg je miljoenen per dag. Want zo zit ik in elkaar. Maar niet met mijn zaken, niet met mijn fucken. Wat wil jij dan?
Nee, jij niet te veel.
We hebben een mooi huis, we hebben alles, weet je. Wat wil je nou nog meer? Ik ben een Mongool. Ik ben Jantje. Wat wil jij nou nog meer? Wat wil je meer?
Een normaal leven.
Normaal leven moet je een of andere bijgagel zoeken. Maar niet mijn. Kanker lekker en dood. Kanker helemaal lekker op.
Ik ga lekker naar huis. Bekijk het even zo, dan met jullie allemaal op.
Doe het goed.
Hey, ik wil alleen maar, en die rode ook, dat je gelukkig wordt, daarom bellen we je niet meer, Pik.
Maar weet je wat het is?
Nee, maar jij begrijpt dat toch wel?
Ja,
die kroeg er wel. De kroeg hiernaast is open. Maar dan gaan we die kankervrucht doen. Hey,
Bob, hoe is het, jongen?
Goed, is jij?
Ja,
Ja? Lang geleden, hè?
Ja.
Zullen we even naar mij naar boven gaan?
Ja, te gek. Als je weer buiten bent, alles komt uit op je dak, jongen. Met het werk is allemaal niks geworden.
Nee.
De taxi-examen, daar was ik voor gezakt, weet je wel.
2 keer?
Ja, die test.
En dat schildersbedrijf?
Daar heb ik nooit meer wat van gehoord.
Je hebt geen contact met je gehad?
Nee.
Dat is ook... En ben je er zelf nog eens een keer achterheen geweest eigenlijk?
Nee, eigenlijk niet.
Het is jammer, hè? Ik vind het zo jammer, hè, dat we... Die tijd dat je hier was, was het toch een behoorlijke structuur in je leven. In de inrichting, in de baaiers. En dan ga je bij ons weg. En dan zie je toch dat die structuur en die steun eigenlijk die je toch wel van ons kreeg al die tijd. Dat je dat kwijtraakt. Dat is jammer.
Ja, ik weet ook niet hoe ik dat moet verklaren. Het is gewoon een beetje vreemd gelopen. Mijn relaties in de kloten gegaan.
Dat is ook over, hè?
Ik zie die kinderen zie ik nooit meer.
Nee.
Dat doet zo een pijn, man. Diep in mijn hart wou ik dat ze dood was. Ik droom wel eens ervan. Dat ik haar vermoor. Dat ik die pijn niet meer heb verbinden. Dat ze dood is. Dat ze weg is. Maar dan denk ik van, ze heeft 2 kinderen. Dat kan ik niet maken, weet je wel.
Maar waarom heb je het dan... Ik bedoel, wat is er dan gebeurd?
Man, wat is er dan gebeurd? Hey, wat moet je nou doen om een relatie aan de kloten te helpen? Als een vrouw heel veel van je houdt, dan moet je heel veel doen, hoor, Roy. Nou, en dat heb ik ook gedaan. Hoeren, snoeren, gekkigheid, sapen, snuiven. Ik moet gewoon een lening hebben. Maar dan, omdat ik de boel gevleesd heb, krijg ik geen lening meer, weet je. Stel ik je kanker om me.
Boeleizen. Maar als je geen lening krijgt, wat dan?
Er gebeuren gekke dingen misschien wel. Ik denk het wel, ja. Ik probeer het zo lang mogelijk uit te stellen. Hier links moeten we wijzen, denk ik.
Ja, wat deden wij? Ja,
Dat is
ook auto's op bestelling regelen en dat soort dingen.
We gaan even een auto weghalen, man.
Het zal gebeuren, jongens, één keer hoor. Weet je, kleine dingen, hè, dus... Hey, Kevin. Hey? Kevin. Net doen of er niks aan de hand is. Kruimelwerk. Maar als je heel veel doet, is het veel, hè?
Even die draadjes klauwen. Zo. Nee, rustig. Weet je dat dit trouwens de enigste automobielen zijn met vliegtuigstoelen?
Geen was er ook van geen kwaad bewust of zo, weet je. Alles doen, gewoon. Wat een ander leest, deden wij. Zodra er weer wat was, hupfeest. De euforie. Constant die euforie zoeken. En dat ging ook vrij makkelijk allemaal. En, nou ja, kijk, ja, dan kon je van een bepaalde gasten kon je makkelijk geld lenen. En dan kon je verder pokeren. Of naar het casino of wat dan ook. Ja, en dat ging natuurlijk mis.
Met Roy?
Ik moet weg, Roy. Ik heb hier 2 kapotgeslagen flessen staan.
Hoe bedoel je?
Ze trappen zo de deur in, weet je wel. En dan heb ik wat in mijn handen. Ik heb slapende honden wakker gemaakt door dingen te regelen. Ik heb mijn nood gedaan. En nu word ik bedreigd van, je mist een been. Of een minimale kriesschijn.
Jezus Christus.
Hier staat nog een fles. Die stuk is. Nou, die wilden me dus in feite in elkaar komen slaan. En toen heb ik als afschrikmiddel 2 flessen tegen elkaar stuk geslagen. Hier bovenaan de trap van Kaboing. Nou, dan kom maar naar boven toe. Kijk, tegen 5 man doe je toch niet. En dan heb ik het over, ik haat geweld, ik haat elke vorm van agressie. Maar als je bedreigd wordt, dan probeer je ook te overleven, toch of niet? Ja. Niks.
We gaan op vakantie.
Nee, niet.
Waar ga je naartoe, Joost?
Centerparks.
Ja, wij kunnen weer niet mee. Wij kunnen thuis blijven. Wanneer weer terug? Dinsdag? Sure?
Weet ik niet. Ja, zal toch wel. Ja. Ik had gokschulden. Je moet het oplossen. Je verontschuldiging aanbieden. En dingen, want je hebt een enorme fout gemaakt. Een stomme kop. Ik denk, nou, dan ga ik dat doen. En als ik dan in Centerparks gepakt zou worden... ergens in het noorden van Europa... dan heb ik een paar jaar rust, weet je wel.
Jan Erons, neemt u Hermina Maria Stokhoff aan tot uw wettige echtgenote en belooft u getrouw alle plichten te zullen vervullen die de wet aan de huwelijkse staat verbindt? Wat is daarop uw antwoord?
Ja.
Hermina Maria Stokhoff, neemt u Jan Erons aan tot uw wettige echtgenoot en belooft u getrouw alle plichten te zullen vervullen die de wet aan de huwelijkse staat verbindt?
Hiermee trouw ik je. Een belofte is van mijn hele leven. Ik, Jantje Erons. Goed.
Dat is ons boek, Jantje.
Dit is een boek van mijn hele leven, van ons boek is dit. Dit is ons boek.
Dat is nou iets waar ik geen geduld voor heb.
Je hebt wel geduld voor mij, schat. Dat is het belangrijkste. Ik ben de moeilijkste man in je hele fucking leven. Ik ben echt de moeilijkste man van je hele leven.
Van de hele wereld.
Van de hele wereld, maar je hebt wel geduld voor mij. Waarom? Weet je omdat ik gek ben? Weet je van mij houden.
Ja, je bent lief.
Ik zullen we gaan trouwen en we hadden al plannen. En ik zullen we gaan trouwen. Ja, ze nou, laten we maar gaan trouwen dan. Oké, gaan we trouwen.
We zijn 3 keer in ondertrouw geweest.
Ja.
3 keer een huwelijksdatum afgezegd. Ja. Ze trouwen niet met je, rot me lekker op. Zoek maar een ander. Niet mij. Is het toch van gekomen, schat?
Niets meer zeggen, niets meer goed. Zou je willen dat een ander ons verstoort? Niets meer zeggen, haatjes moe. Zou je willen dat een ander ons verstoort? Getrouwd, Jezus, had ik me nooit.
We zijn getrouwd.
Het gaat goed, Herman. Waanzinnig. Waanzinnig. Zoveel lekkere, lieve, leuke, relaxe, goddelijke.